It is still being calibrated. It may not be ready for deployment immediately. An engineer replied, beads of sweat dotting his forehead. I am Ice. I am now in charge of the mecha team. Ice piloted his mech high above the South China Sea, his expression stoic as he gazed into the distance. His mech radiated a chilling luminescence, resembling a deity of war. Who is he? Why is he here? The commander questioned, his eyes filled with curiosity. I recognize that name, Ice, someone murmured. Where are the missiles? The commander was tense, his heart in his throat. The missiles are approaching Ice, a soldier reported nervously. In the air, Ice observed the incoming missiles. A glimmer of determination crossing his face as he unleashed a laser cannon. The beam, like a brilliant pillar of light, collided with the missile, creating a powerful shockwave that rippled outward. Commander, the missile, it vanished the moment it approached Ice. The soldier operating the radar was incredulous. This was something that even interception missiles could not handle, yet it had been effortlessly neutralized. His eyes widened in astonishment at the extraordinary event. Excellent. I did not expect Huagua to possess such equipment. It seems the Eagle Nation will be restless tonight. He chuckled but quickly turned serious, realizing that 4 more missiles remained. His emotions fluctuated like a roller coaster, the joy swiftly replaced by apprehension. Damn it, what is happening? Why was it intercepted? Marshal Tell of the Eagle Nation seated, watching the display as their missile disappeared. This was their latest design, specifically crafted to evade Huagua and Apos' interceptions. How could this happen? His face flushed red with rage, resembling an infuriated lion. Marshal, there are still 4 missiles. We can monitor them with satellites, an aide suggested, his voice trembling slightly. Immediately activate satellite surveillance to assess the situation. There is no way Huagua can intercept our missiles, Tell roared, unwilling to believe that Huagua possessed such formidable power. Ice, what is your status? Are you unharmed? The commander inquired with concern for Ice's well-being. Do not worry, I am fine. This time, I will take the initiative, Ice declared, propelling himself towards the incoming missiles, unleashing 4 laser blasts that obliterated the Eagle Nation's missiles in an instant before heading towards the South China Sea. His movements precise and unhesitating. Chapter 378. The injured Ice. The commander was astounded. All 4 missiles had been neutralized by Ice. Yet he was now heading towards the South China Sea. Could it be that he intended to confront them? A soldier stood in disbelief, his wide eyes reflecting sheer incredulity, unable to fathom Ice's audacity and fearlessness. Well done, the commander exclaimed, his hand waving with barely contained excitement. However, the thought of Ice venturing alone towards the South China Sea sent a wave of anxiety through him. His brow furrowed deeply as he focused intently on the distant sky, as if trying to pierce through the layers of clouds to catch a glimpse of Ice's silhouette. On board the Eagle Nation's warship, Marshal Terrace received urgent news. The satellite has detected a signal. A soldier rushed in to report, his voice laced with urgency. Marshal Terrace hastened to the screen, where a flickering point appeared, followed by 4 brilliant beams of light. The missiles vanished without a trace, leaving no further evidence of their existence. What in the world is this? He pondered, astonished at the interception of 5 missiles in an instant. He stared at the screen, his expression one of utter disbelief, as if he had witnessed something unfathomable. Suddenly, a deafening explosion resonated. An Eagle Nation warship was struck, plunging into the depths of the sea amidst towering waves and billowing smoke. Marshal Terrace, unidentified flying objects are appearing overhead, armed with light cannons. This is extremely hazardous. A soldier rushed into the cabin, his trembling voice barely coherent, fear evident in his eyes. Eliminate it immediately. Launch 20 supersonic missiles. We must destroy it. Ter's expression darkened, fury surging within him as his roar echoed through the cabin like a raging beast. Upon receiving Ter's command, the operators, though puzzled, resolutely complied. Damn, what a stroke of genius, Ice thought to himself, immediately turning to flee upon seeing the warning of 20 supersonic missiles. He understood well that he was not foolish enough to engage directly with such a barrage. His mech traced a graceful yet perilous arc through the air, deftly evading the missiles and Apos' pursuit with lightning speed. Commander, the situation is dire. The Eagle Nation has launched 20 supersonic missiles in pursuit of Ice. It's extremely critical. A soldier in Apos' anxious voice rang out. Immediately issue a warning to the Eagle Nation warships and deploy 40 21D missiles to force them into defense. Commander Huang ordered without hesitation, his eyes reflecting an unwavering determination to protect Ice at all costs. In an instant, dozens of missiles soared skyward like a horde of furious dragons, racing towards the South China Sea. The missiles streaked across the sky like a meteor shower, carrying the power of destruction and leaving dazzling trails against the horizon. Marshal Terrace, the Huagua has issued a warning and deployed 40 missiles towards us, a soldier reported, his voice trembling slightly, sensing the seriousness of Huagua's response. It seemed that the earlier incident was no ordinary affair. They had to eliminate it. Intercept Huagua and Apos' missiles. Ter resolved, his gaze filled with determination. As if he had succumbed to madness, willing to do anything to achieve his objective. He relayed this situation to President Tep of the Eagle Nation, whose greed was laid bare in that moment, demanding the destruction of the mech and, if possible, its retrieval to Eagle Nation. Yet at that moment, Ice executed a swift maneuver, evading several incoming missiles. Simultaneously, his mech unleashed powerful laser cannons that struck a few missiles directly. A tremendous explosion erupted in the sky, illuminating the surrounding sea with fiery brilliance. No, he can retaliate. The soldiers of the Eagle Nation exclaimed in panic, having believed victory was assured, only to be taken aback by Ice and Apos' fierce counterattack. Meanwhile, the 4021D missiles from Huagua closed in on the Eagle Nation warships. Quick, defense! Marshal Terrace shouted, urgency saturating his voice. But it was too late. Although half of Huagua's missiles were intercepted, the other half struck true, wreaking havoc among the Eagle Nation's fleet. Flames erupted, and several warships were severely damaged, smoke billowing as the cries of soldiers echoed through the chaos. How is this possible? Ter slumped in his chair, his face pale as a ghost, unable to accept the reality of his defeat, his eyes filled with resentment. Meanwhile, I successfully evaded the missiles and prepared to return to Huagua and Apos' ranks. Just then, a supersonic missile, like a bolt of deadly lightning, struck Ice and Apos' mech with pinpoint accuracy. In an instant, flames erupted, and the mech plummeted like a fallen star into the mountainous terrain. Marshal Terrace, a missile struck the previous target, and it has vanished from radar and satellite detection. A soldier reported with a hint of excitement. Ter and Apos' previously tense demeanor transformed, exhilaration coursing through him. Excellent. Launch missiles to attack Huagua. If they wish for war, let it begin. His eyes sparkled with madness, as if reason had slipped away. Without the obstruction of the mech, Ter was confident that Huagua would be incapable of intercepting their missiles. In an instant, over 100 missiles soared skyward, heading directly towards Guangdong province, creating a scene reminiscent of an apocalyptic event. Meanwhile, Ice was grievously injured. Although the mech provided some protection, the direct impact of the missile did not kill him instantly. However, the powerful shockwave left his internal organs damaged, and his consciousness began to fade, pain overwhelming him like a tidal wave. Ice, are you alright? Commander Huang was tense, veins bulging on his forehead, fully aware of Ice's extraordinary capabilities, which were beyond the scope of ordinary equipment. Investigate the location where Ice disappeared. Send out a search party immediately. We must locate both him and the equipment. Huang and Apos' voice was dark and filled with urgency, his fury palpable. Commander, the Eagle Nation has launched over 100 missiles towards Guangdong province. A soldier reported, his eyes reddened with despair and anger. What is the status of the latest equipment? Huang turned to the engineer, hope glimmering in his eyes. Commander, the equipment has been assembled and passed testing. The engineer replied, his fury evident. As a technician, he understood the importance of the equipment Ice operated. The damage to it represented a significant loss for Huagua. Chapter 379. The interception of missiles commence immediate interception of the missiles. Commander Huang and Apos' command had barely left his lips when the missiles ascended into the sky. Armed with formidable new technology, the missiles sliced through the air like unsheathed swords, successfully intercepting nearly all the projectiles launched by the Eagle Nation. However, 2 missiles veered towards Shanghai City, having already evaded interception. Marshal Terrace, our missiles have been intercepted by the majority from Huagua. Only 2 have breached the defenses, reported an operator, his voice trembling with anxiety. What? This is impossible. Ter and Apos' eyes widened in disbelief upon hearing this news. It was crucial to note that the Eagle Nation's missiles were specifically designed to target Huagua, armed with intelligence obtained through a high-ranking traitor who had since been dealt with. Why, then, had the situation unfolded this way? Marshal Terrace, 2 missiles have indeed broken through and are heading into Huagua territory, directed towards Shanghai City. The opportunity for interception has elapsed, yet we must not consider it a total loss. The operator tried to console the furious Ter. Very well, very well. Begin monitoring the trajectory of the 2 missiles immediately, Ter replied, a glimmer of excitement manifesting in his voice. Meanwhile, in Huagua, upon learning that 2 missiles had bypassed the defenses, anxiety gripped everyone involved. Their faces were etched with worry. With HN being already untraceable and the speed of the supersonic missiles rendering interception impossible, despair loomed. Were they truly to witness the missiles strike Shanghai City without recourse? A tumult of anger and helplessness surged within them. Dragon Lord, the situation is dire, someone spoke up. Their tone fraught with concern. The Dragon Lord stared intently at the satellite images before him, his expression grave. What is the status of HN being? Is there any possibility of stopping the missiles? He understood that such inquiries were ill-timed, yet it seemed there was no alternative. The time for interception had run out, rendering any additional weaponry futile. In Shanghai City, a heavy silence enveloped the crowd, time seemingly suspended as each second stretched into an agonizing eternity. Just then, a resolute voice cut through the despair. We cannot simply concede. We must devise a plan. Turning to the source, they beheld a young officer stepping forward. His eyes ablaze with indomitable spirit. Initiate the emergency protocol. Alert the citizens of Shanghai City to evacuate immediately. He commanded with urgency. In an instant, sirens blared throughout Shanghai City as citizens, guided by military and police forces, began to evacuate in an orderly manner towards safe zones. Yet, the missiles approached with alarming speed, leaving them with scant time. Is there truly no hope? Someone cried out in desperation. Just at this critical juncture, a mysterious light suddenly illuminated the skies above Shanghai City. A massive energy shield materialized, effectively blocking the two missiles from advancing. The crowd stared in astonishment, hope rekindling in their eyes. Is it an immortal? Someone exclaimed, recognizing the figure who stood poised in the air, channeling formidable spiritual energy to uphold the shield. The missiles collided with the energy barrier, erupting in a spectacular display of fireworks in the sky. On the South Sea, Ter sat down abruptly, taken aback by the unexpected turn of events. He had not anticipated the failure of the two missiles, their disappearance shrouded in mystery. Surely, that mecha should have been incapacitated by now, yet here they were. In the command room of the capital, someone remarked, it was Gu Yechen and Appos' intervention. Indeed, that figure could only be him. In such circumstances, he alone possesses that capability. Ma Xian added. It appears we must expedite our plans, another suggested. Dragon Lord, I believe we should sever all communication with foreign entities immediately. Rather than waiting for a month, Ma Xian proposed after a moment of contemplation. I concur. There have already been reports of wild animals attacking humans. And these creatures are evidently mutated, mirroring the conditions described by Mr. Gu. We must act decisively, a middle-aged man chimed in. Very well, issue the orders. Expel all foreigners within 10 days, and mobilize search efforts for engineering teams nationwide. Coastal provinces must be quarantined. If mutations are occurring, marine life may also be affected. Erect formidable barriers along the coasts to prevent incursions. Additionally, fortify cities with walls, allowing only designated pathways for transit, with troops stationed to oversee them. Time is of the essence. We must mobilize across the nation, the Dragon Lord decreed. Furthermore, instruct the front lines to locate HNB Ing and the mecha. We must find him. Also, notify Lin Hua and his team to manufacture as many mechas as possible. Their utility is paramount. His brow furrowed with concern over the impending events expected in a year. Above Shanghai City, after thwarting the missiles, Gu Yechen vanished from sight, returning to the English manor. He refrained from pursuing the Eagle Nation's naval forces in the South Sea. However, should they provoke him again, he would not hesitate to retaliate. What just transpired? Upon returning home, the women looked at Gu Yechen with puzzled expressions. The Eagle Nation launched missiles towards Huagua, but everything is under control now. Gu Yechen replied with a smile. I never imagined the Eagle Nation would sever ties with Huagua, Jiang Qingyan remarked slowly, disbelief evident in her gaze. It seems the conflict between the two nations has been hastened, Ning Qinxue observed, her thoughts aligned with the inevitability of war, merely a question of timing. How is your training progressing? Gu Yechen inquired. Thus far, it has been quite smooth, and I sense a breakthrough may be imminent, Jiang Qingyan responded, her tone calm. What? The others turned to her in astonishment. They had all been training together for a relatively short period. Yet Jiang Qingyan was on the brink of breaking through to the first level of qi refinement, leaving them speechless. Don't worry. The fact that you can sense and absorb spiritual energy indicates that you possess innate talent for cultivation. Given your limited time training, this is entirely normal. Once you return home and continue your practice, you will surely advance further, Gu Yechen reassured them. Tomorrow, I will depart from Shanghai City. Push yourselves hard. When I return to collect you, I hope to witness a breathtaking spectacle. Gu Yechen smiled warmly. Chapter 380. Why do some people always like to threaten me? Upon hearing Gu Yechen and Appos' words, the crowd felt a tinge of reluctance, their eyes reflecting a clear sense of affection. Yet, they understood the gravity of the moment. Thus refrained from speaking further, rising to prepare for their departure. They needed to return to their training to enhance their strength, striving to contribute in the future to Gu Yechen and to everyone else. Ruo Yen, please stay a moment, Gu Yechen said, his voice low yet resonant in the tranquil space. The women exchanged glances, as if comprehending each other and Appos' thoughts without uttering a word. They merely smiled and nodded before turning to leave. What is the matter? Li Ruoyan inquired, puzzled. She had been somewhat baffled since Gu Yechen summoned her. Feeling out of place among his other companions, her mind buzzed with questions, uncertain of why Gu Yechen wished to speak with her alone. Join me for dinner this evening. Gu Yechen smiled warmly, his expression akin to a gentle spring breeze, yet he offered no further explanation. Jiang Qingyan, witnessing the scene, smiled slightly. Her expression filled with understanding and acceptance, before retreating to her room to resume her training, vacating the master bedroom for Gu Yechen and Li Ruoyan. The South China Sea dispute raged on, the situation growing increasingly tense with no signs of de-escalation. The three aircraft carrier fleets of Huaghua, along with all its warships, commenced a formidable assembly in the South China Sea, demonstrating resolute determination and immense power. The international community was taken aback, astonished by Huaghua's unexpectedly vigorous and resolute counteraction, which contradicted its usual advocacy for peaceful development. Should conflict erupt between these two global powers, it would undoubtedly spell catastrophe for the world, resulting in significant losses for all nations involved. Consequently, calls for amicable resolution rather than escalation to war began to echo across nations. At this juncture, Taipu found himself in a state of frantic agitation, akin to an ant on a hot pan. Since he assumed the presidency, the Eagle Nation had suffered tremendous losses, including over 20 warships and 2 aircraft carriers in the South China Sea, leading to a substantial decline in domestic trust towards him and a surge in public discontent. Faced with such a predicament, Taipu had no choice but to refrain from further escalating tensions. Nevertheless, both sides maintained a standoff in the South China Sea, with the Eagle Nation commencing nuclear missile threats towards Huaghua. Huaghua, however, had never shied away from such provocations, displaying unwavering resolve. Should the moment of a reconcilable conflict arise, Huaghua would not hesitate to respond with nuclear force. The search and rescue operation for Han Bing continued, and as dusk fell, the 2-hour search since 4 o'clock yielded no results, causing palpable anxiety among many. The potential loss of Han Bing would represent a significant blow to Huaghua. At this moment, everyone silently prayed for favorable news. Meanwhile, Gu Yechen and Li Ruoyan strolled through the vibrant streets, illuminated by brilliant lights and bustling with people. Li Ruoyan felt an unusual sensation for Gu Yechen and Apos. His tenderness towards her was overwhelming, his meticulous care and thoughtfulness rendering her somewhat uneasy. She occasionally stole glances at him, her heart racing like a caged rabbit. "Ah, is that you, Director Li?" A burly man, flanked by a dozen companions, suddenly obstructed their path. His gaze lingered on Li Ruoyan, imbued with ill intentions. Noticing this, Gu Yechen frowned slightly. Li Ruoyan was now affiliated with Feiyue Group. How dare this individual behave so brazenly? It left him pondering whether a force stronger than Feiyue Group lurked in Shanghai City. "What do you want?" Li Ruoyan's expression soured upon recognizing the man, her eyes brimming with disdain and fury, as if she had encountered something utterly repulsive. "Kid, I'm Duan Yong. You can call me Elder Duan. I suggest you step aside and hand over Li Ruoyan behind you. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite," Duan Yong declared coldly, his arrogant demeanor inciting a desire to teach him a lesson. Gu Yechen was taken aback by the man's audacity. The last person who spoke to him in such a manner had long since become fertilizer. How could he encounter such a foolhardy individual again? Li Ruoyan, her anger surfacing, exclaimed, "He is nothing but scum. One of my close friends was ruined by him." Her eyes reddened, recalling her friend's plight, causing her to tremble with rage. "What happened?" Gu Yechen inquired, concern and curiosity evident in his gaze. She took a deep breath, slowly articulating, "My friend, during a gathering, was unwittingly drugged by this beast and subsequently violated. He even recorded videos and took photos to threaten her, promising to release them if she did not comply. Once she realized what had happened, she was utterly devastated. This scoundrel wanted to continue a relationship with her, but she never bowed to him. Ultimately, the video was sent to her family, leading her to a state of utter despair, and her family was left battered by this scoundrel and his accomplices." As Li Ruoyan spoke, her fury intensified, her visage contorted with anger, as though she wished to devour Duan Yong whole. "Li Ruoyan, why are you so worked up? Your friend is as beautiful as you. I didn't realize she was still a virgin. I had my way with her in bed, after all. I was her first man." Duan Yong chuckled, his laughter grotesque and repulsive. Upon hearing his words, Li Ruoyan was engulfed by a wave of rage, her cheeks flushed crimson. Hands clenched tightly as she glared at Duan Yong with eyes that seemed to pierce through him. Duan Yong then turned his attention to Gu Yechen, warning, "Young man, mind your own business, or you may find yourself in trouble." With that, he stepped toward Li Ruoyan, attempting to grab her. Gu Yechen shook his head. "Why do some people always feel the need to threaten me? Do you believe no one can stand against you?" He regarded Duan Yong's arm, his tone laced with an air of authority, emanating a chilling aura that made one involuntarily shiver. Before anyone could react, Duan Yong's outstretched hand suddenly fell to the ground. A shrill scream akin to that of a slaughtered pig reverberated throughout the street, with onlookers bewildered, unsure of what had transpired, only aware that Gu Yechen had merely glanced. And the man's arm was severed. "I detest those who resort to drugging women," Gu Yechen declared, his voice imbued with righteous anger. "When others decline your advances, you resort to such foul tactics. How can someone like you continue to exist in this world?" Chapter 381. Duan Yong's Fear in Matters of Affection. Gu Yechen has always sought consent before taking any actions. Though surrounded by numerous women and indifferent to accusations of being a scoundrel, he treats each one with sincerity. Even if a relationship concludes, he ensures that no harm comes to them. He adheres to his principles and boundaries, steadfastly upholding respect and honesty in the realm of emotions. What do you intend to do? Upon witnessing Gu Yechen's demeanor, Duan Yong trembled uncontrollably. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead, and the excruciating pain from his severed hand coursed through his body like an electric current, threatening to render him unconscious. Yet, the terror within him was far more overwhelming. His body quaked involuntarily, as if ensnared in an icy chamber. His gang of followers stood frozen in place, utterly bewildered. They had not witnessed Gu Yechen make any move, nor had Duan Yong commanded them to act, leaving them in a state of anxious uncertainty, their eyes wide with fear. What do you think? Gu Yechen smiled faintly, but the smile held a menacing undertone. The slight upward curve of his lips resembled the derisive grin of a demon, sending chills down Duan Yong's spine. His body trembled more violently, his teeth chattering in a cacophony of dread. I must inform you that I am associated with the Liu family of Kyoto. It would be wise to release me. Otherwise, their wrath will leave you with no place to hide. Duan Yong masked his fear with forced bravado as he addressed Gu Yechen. He hoped to intimidate Gu Yechen with the name of the Liu family, clinging to the desperate hope of preserving his life. Despite the firmness of his voice, the quivering end revealed his deep-seated panic. Gu Yechen raised an eyebrow in surprise. Upon observing Gu Yechen's reaction, Duan Yong felt a surge of elation and continued, "If you spare me, I can introduce you to members of the Liu family." Soaring to great heights would not be impossible. He believed Gu Yechen had been intimidated, igniting a flicker of hope within him, his gaze toward Li Ruoyan tinged with avarice. Gu Yechen contemplated for a moment before responding. "Are you truly unaware that the Liu family has long been extinguished? Using their name to threaten me seems rather foolish, doesn't it? Moreover, even if the Liu family were present, I would not regard them with any significance." His tone was frigid, as if the very air around them had crystallized. His gaze pierced through Duan Yong like a blade, filling him with despair. Duan Yong's complexion paled instantaneously. He could not fathom how Gu Yechen could dismiss the Liu family so easily. The notion that the Liu family had been annihilated was beyond his comprehension. The Liu family was formidable in Kyoto. How could they have been vanquished? Unless numerous families had united against them. But such a scenario seemed implausible. Confusion and dread engulfed Duan Yong, leaving him unable to comprehend the true caliber and influence of the man before him. "Brother, what should we do?" A subordinate timidly approached Duan Yong, his voice quivering with fear as his legs trembled uncontrollably. "What else can we do? Charge at him. Can he possibly overpower all of us?" In that moment, Duan Yong had lost all reason, desperate to command his followers to confront Gu Yechen. His voice escalated to a near scream, intent on bringing Gu Yechen down. Though fear gripped them, the subordinates dared not defy Duan Yong's orders and rushed toward Gu Yechen. With a disdainful snort, Gu Yechen moved with lightning speed, effortlessly weaving through the crowd. He refrained from employing any extraordinary techniques. His fists and feet struck with the swiftness of a tempest, each blow imbued with tremendous force. A chorus of anguished cries erupted as the subordinates collapsed, writhing in pain. His movements were fluid and precise, resembling a whirlwind, leaving the onlookers in awe. Witnessing this spectacle, Duan Yong fell to the ground, paralyzed by fear, his body quaking uncontrollably. His face ashen. "Please, spare me. I shall never dare again," he pleaded, his voice steeped in despair, tears streaming down his face. Gu Yechen regarded him coldly. "Having committed such heinous acts, do you believe that pleading for mercy will absolve you?" His voice was as frigid as ice, plunging Duan Yong into the depths of hopelessness. With a swift motion, Gu Yechen clenched his hand, causing Duan Yong and Appo's bones to shatter, yet sparing his life, ensuring he would endure a torturous existence. Unable even to end his own suffering. Observing the wretched state of the man who had sullied her best friend, Li Ruan felt a wave of relief wash over her. Turning to Gu Yechen, she expressed her gratitude. "Mr. Gu, thank you. I express my gratitude on behalf of my friend. Simply call me by my name." "There is no need for formality between us," Gu Yechen replied thoughtfully. "Where is your friend? Lead me to her, for I possess medical knowledge that may aid her." His voice was gentle, evoking an inexplicable warmth. "Really?" Upon hearing Gu Yechen's willingness to assist, Li Ruoyan's face lit up with surprise. She had been striving to help her friend escape the shadows, but had met with repeated failures. The prospect of Gu Yechen's intervention ignited hope within her. "Yes. After we finish eating, I will accompany you to see her." Gu Yechen affectionately ruffled her hair, his gaze softening in an unusual display of tenderness. Li Ruoyan froze in place, taken aback by Gu Yechen's intimate gesture. Throughout her life, she had maintained a distance from men, save for those she held affection for, which had been a rarity. The unexpected nature of Gu Yechen's action left her momentarily stunned, and she found herself not instinctively resisting. A stark contrast to her reflexive reaction against a previous unwanted advance. Contemplating Gu Yechen's willingness to assist her friend, she realized she bore no aversion toward him. With this thought in mind, She readily agreed, linking her arm with Gu Yechen's, visibly elated. Inside a bustling Chinese restaurant, the atmosphere was vibrant. Upon entering, Gu Yechen strode confidently forward, inciting ire among those who were queuing, as he bypassed them without hesitation. Hey, who do you think you are? Everyone is in line. What gives you the right to cut in? A young man immediately challenged Gu Yechen, his voice booming and drawing the attention of those nearby. Chapter 382 The most distinguished client. Upon hearing the voice, Li Ruoyan halted her steps and slowly turned, her gaze directed towards the source of the sound. A hint of confusion flickering in her eyes. Gu Yechen, too, casually glanced over, his expression as tranquil as still water. Noticing the two had stopped, the man puffed out his chest, defiantly meeting their gaze. He had initially expected Gu Yechen to feel shame or fear in response to his challenge, yet he was mistaken. Upon locking eyes with Gu Yechen and Appo's calm demeanor, an unsettling sensation arose within him. Gu Yechen remained composed, his gaze indifferent as he addressed the man. Is there something you need? If not, please do not disturb me. I have pressing matters to attend to. His voice was measured, yet it carried an undeniable air of authority. Pressing matters? Who doesn't have urgent business? Just because you have something to do, does that grant you the right to cut in line? The young man raised his voice, agitation evident in his tone. He perceived Gu Yechen and Appo's words as mere excuses, unable to accept such an unjust treatment. I do not wish to elaborate further, and I advise you to refrain from meddling. Some individuals are not to be trifled with. Gu Yechen's voice chilled, reminiscent of a winter's breeze, impatience flickering in his eyes, the coldness palpable enough to freeze the very air around them. How can you be so unreasonable? The young man became increasingly agitated, his face flushing crimson as he gestured animatedly, convinced of his righteousness, unwilling to let Gu Yechen bypass him. His voice echoed in the restaurant, drawing the attention of those nearby. At that moment, the restaurant manager hurried over, his face instantly lighting up with a radiant smile akin to the warmth of spring sunshine. Mr. Gu, welcome. Please, come in. His tone was filled with respect and eagerness. The young man was taken aback, his eyes wide with disbelief. He had not anticipated such deference from the manager towards Gu Yechen, far exceeding his expectations. Sir, Mr. Gu is our restaurant's most esteemed client, possessing a private booth, hence he does not require queuing. I kindly ask you to refrain from further remarks. The manager's tone, though calm, bore an undeniable authority. He then slightly bowed, gesturing for Gu Yechen and Li Ruoyan to enter. The young man stood rooted to the spot, his face alternating between red and pale, seething with frustration. He felt unjustly treated, but was powerless to act, merely watching as Gu Yechen and Li Ruoyan were respectfully escorted away by the manager. Once inside the booth, delectable dishes began to flow forth like a stream, exquisitely presented and emanating enticing aromas that heightened the appetite. Please, enjoy your meal. Afterward, we shall visit your friend, Gu Yechen remarked, his voice gentle, instilling a sense of reassurance. Li Ruoyan nodded, her heart brimming with gratitude. She gazed upon the bountiful feast, yet refrained from immediately indulging. Instead, she glanced at Gu Yechen before gradually savoring the meal. After their repast, the pair departed the restaurant, heading towards Li Ruoyan's friend's residence. Throughout the journey, her emotions oscillated between anxiety and anticipation, her hands tightly clasped, her gaze frequently drifting to the window, hoping Gu Yechen could indeed assist her friend. Meanwhile, within the mech, Han Bing lay recuperating, his injuries worsening, rendering him immobile and speechless, his vitality waning. His complexion was as pale as parchment, his breath barely perceptible. It was only due to being inside the mech that he remained alive. Without rescue, he would likely perish by morning. Sighing, he murmured to himself, "Will I even survive until tomorrow?" His voice, weak as a flickering candle in the wind, betrayed a deep sense of despair. After having finally piloted such advanced equipment, he now faced a life-or-death ordeal, a wave of desolation washing over him. Reboot diagnostics in progress. Suddenly, as despair threatened to engulf him, a faint light flickered to life within the mech, illuminating the cabin and Appo's condition. Self-reboot successful, assessing mech damage. Exterior damage at 70%. Interior damage at 30%. Overall condition stable, detecting pilot in distress. Contacting emergency contacts. How advanced? Han Bing groaned through the pain, a flicker of hope igniting within him. Meanwhile, Gu Yechen and Li Ruoyan arrived at their destination, only to receive an urgent notification. Gu Yechen picked up his phone, discovering it was an emergency alert from the mech. "Ian, please wait a moment. I must rescue someone. He is in danger." He showed the message to Li Ruoyan, his expression grave and urgent. Li Ruoyan, regarding the emergency message, nodded and urged, "Hurry back." She instructed him to wait inside for a moment. Without a word, Gu Yechen pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, assuring her, "Wait for me." The soft gesture was filled with tenderness and comfort. "Yes, I will wait." Li Ruoyan felt an inexplicable surge of trust towards Gu Yechen, her eyes devoid of hesitation or worry, only filled with faith. With that, he vanished in a flash of light. Is that what sword flight looks like on television? I can do that too, Li Ruoyan exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with longing. For who wouldn't he desire the ability to soar through the skies at will? At that moment, a weak voice reached her ears, drawing her attention. She turned to see a pallid, emaciated woman standing at the door, her frail form exuding an ethereal beauty, her exquisite features and unique aura undeniable, rivaling Li Ruoyan's own allure. Yaoer, how are you? Li Ruoyan rushed over to support the woman, her touch gentle, concern etched on her face. The woman was indeed Li Ruoyan's friend, a stunning beauty who had faced violation yet refused to bow down. I'm fine, just feeling a bit hopeless. Chiyo replied with a faint smile, her voice as soft as a feather's descent. She staggered inside, her steps unsteady, as though a gust of wind could topple her. Don and Apos, think like that. I assure you, that scoundrel has been dealt with. He is outside right now. I brought him here. You can do as you wish. Even if it means killing him, there will be no consequences. Li Ruoyan grasped Chu Yao and Apos' hand, her voice filled with fervor, tears streaming down her cheeks. Landing upon Chu Yao's hand. Chapter 383. The icy return. As she sensed Chu Yao's fragility, Li Ruoyan noticed that her friend's arms were nearly devoid of flesh. The delicate bones seemingly poised to pierce through the fragile skin. All of this anguish stemmed from that scoundrel. Li Ruoyan's heart felt as if it were gripped tightly by an invisible hand, causing her immense pain. Really? Ayin, please don't cry. Upon hearing Li Ruoyan's words, Chu Yao hastily extended her trembling hand to wipe away her friend's tears. Despite her own emaciated state, her kindness shone brightly. The once dull gleam in her eyes flickered with a faint light. Though weak, it resembled a glimmer of dawn in the darkness, offering a sliver of hope. The gaze she cast upon Li Ruoyan held a touch of vulnerability, her pitiful appearance evoking deep compassion. Yes, he has been severely beaten. So if you wish to seek revenge, it is permissible to kill him. There will be others to assist you. Li Ruoyan observed her dear friend. Her heart pricked with pain, each word laced with profound anger and endless sorrow. She struggled to suppress the tumult of emotions within, fearing that her own loss of control would only burden Chu Yao further. Yin, don't cry. I'm all right now. I've improved significantly. Noticing the redness in Li Ruoyan's eyes, Chu Yao spoke soothingly. Her voice was frail yet exceptionally gentle, each word seemingly exhausting her remaining strength as she endeavored to reassure Li Ruoyan. Even in her own profound suffering, she still sought to comfort others. Once, Chu Yao had been a vibrant young woman, always ready to help, her character beyond reproach. She treated everyone around her with warmth and kindness, never imagining that fate would be so cruel. Was it that boy who helped you? Is he your boyfriend? Chu Yao smiled faintly, though her speech remained somewhat weak. Her smile bore traces of curiosity and hope. She recognized the boy and Apos' commendable nature and wished for her friend to seize this opportunity. Li Ruoyan paused, then blushed as she replied, I don't and Apos, know either. But he truly is wonderful. A flicker of confusion and shyness crossed her eyes, as her feelings for Gu Yechen remained unclear. Yet she was acutely aware that his presence had brought monumental change to her life. Chu Yao regarded Li Ruoyan and Apos' bashful demeanor and gently remarked, I can see he treats you well. You must cherish this. While her voice was weak, it was imbued with sincerity. As they entered the room, Chu Yao settled onto the sofa, her body still trembling slightly. Her gaze remained vacant, as if her spirit had vacated her body, leaving behind only a shell. The only time she displayed a hint of vitality was in Li Ruoyan's presence. Yaoer, rest for a moment. When Yechen returns, everything will be all right. Li Ruoyan poured a glass of water for Chu Yao and gently placed it before her. The steam rising from the cup mirrored Li Ruoyan's aspirations for Gu Yechen, hoping her friend would flourish. Chu Yao nodded, her gaze still blank as she stared ahead, lost in thought. Perhaps she was reminiscing about happier times or contemplating how to confront the harsh reality that lay before her. In the mountains, upon reaching the heights, Gu Yechen's formidable consciousness swept over the forest like a tidal wave. Below, the search and rescue team continued their arduous search, and upon spotting Gu Yechen, they were left utterly astonished. Captain, am I seeing things? One team member's eyes widened in disbelief as he beheld Gu Yechen hovering in midair, his face a mask of astonishment. Perhaps not, for I see him too. The captain replied, twisting the arm of the stunned team member. Ah, the team member exclaimed, his voice echoing unnaturally in the stillness of the forest. It appears this isn't a dream. The captain, equally incredulous, recalled the 2 missiles that had exploded in midair earlier that evening, accompanied by a figure that momentarily captured his attention. Could it be him? A few team members exchanged puzzled glances, their eyes filled with questions as they looked at their captain. Do you remember the missiles from the Eagle country that suddenly detonated in the air, along with a figure that lingered in the sky? Upon hearing this, the others gradually connected the dots, their astonishment palpable. Could that person be him? As they turned their gaze, Gu Yechen had already vanished from sight, landing beside the mech. Goodness, I and Apos' Am fortunate I didn't and oppose. T cut corners when constructing this mech. Otherwise, you might not have made it. Gu Yechen examined the mech and Oppo's battered exterior, surprised by the extent of its damage. The surface was marred with deep scratches and dents, leading him to ponder the fate of an ordinary object struck by a missile. He extended his hand, summoning a gentle force that swiftly extracted Han Bing from the mech. At that moment, Han Bing appeared listless, on the verge of losing vitality. Captain Han, are you all right? Gu Yechen infused him with a surge of spiritual energy to stabilize his condition. The energy enveloped Han Bing like the warmth of the sun, revitalizing his ailing body. Mr. Gu, I never expected it would be you. Han Bing managed a faint smile as he began to feel better. If it weren't for me, you would have met your end. Gu Yechen's cold voice echoed, for had he not received the urgent alert from the mech, Han Bing would have surely perished. Given the search team's capabilities and equipment. Mr. Gu, how did you know I was here? Han Bing chuckled bitterly, having resigned himself to the belief that he was doomed. Gu Yechen caressed the mech and replied, of course, it was this fellow who notified me. His eyes reflected his appreciation for the mech, a creation of his own hands. The mech's emergency contact was you. Han Bing exclaimed in surprise, realization dawning upon him. He recalled that this mech had been constructed by Gu Yechen, making it only logical to contact him. Indeed, you are fortunate to be alive. I hadn't intended to set this up initially. It was merely an experiment that unexpectedly proved effective. Gu Yechen regarded Han Bing, acknowledging his remarkable survival. This seemingly accidental setup had played a crucial role at a pivotal moment. Come, I shall escort you home. Gu Yechen stood, preparing to take off from the ground. Chapter 384. Shu Yao's confusion and unease. What shall we do about the mech? Han Bing inquired, his gaze filled with reluctance as he looked at Gu Yechen. The mech was a labor of Gu Yechen's devotion, a national treasure. Han Bing felt deep remorse for his carelessness that led to this predicament. Uncertain if he would ever have the chance to pilot the mech again to fend off enemies. His eyes reflected profound helplessness and sorrow. Gu Yechen maintained his composure, waving his hand with a flourish, causing the mech to transform into a brilliant stream of light, vanishing into the enigmatic system space. This astonishing spectacle left Han Bing utterly astounded, his mouth agape and eyes wide, as if they might pop from their sockets. The shock within him surged like a tidal wave, refusing to subside. Let us depart. Having completed the task, Gu Yechen regarded Han Bing with an expressionless demeanor, his voice cold yet devoid of reproach or annoyance, merely wishing to leave swiftly. Are you a celestial being? Han Bing was completely taken aback, witnessing how effortlessly Gu Yechen made the mech disappear. The astonishment within him roared like a stampede of horses, words failing to convey his feelings. If we do not leave now, you will only await your demise here. I shan't return. Gu Yechen smiled slightly, seemingly accustomed to Han Bing's astonished expression. His smile bore an air of nonchalance, as if everything in this world were but fleeting clouds to him. Upon hearing Gu Yechen's words, Han Bing snapped back to reality, realizing his lapse in composure, and promptly nodded, daring not to hesitate further. With a thought, Gu Yechen summoned a flying sword radiating mysterious light. He grasped Han Bing and stepped onto the sword, ascending into the night sky. The sword carved a resplendent arc through the darkness, akin to a dazzling shooting star, disappearing in an instant. I have rescued the individual. You may return. Gu Yechen's voice resonated like thunder, echoing in the ears of the search and rescue personnel still scouring the area. Indeed, he is a celestial being. The rescuers gazed upwards, envy etched on their faces as they watched the direction of Gu Yechen's departure, the light already extinguished, yet their eyes remained transfixed, immersed in the recent spectacle, their hearts tumultuous and unsettled. Gu Yechen directly transported Han Bing to a hospital in Guangdong province for treatment. For Gu Yechen, Han Bing's injuries required no personal intervention, as he had initially infused Han Bing with spiritual energy to safeguard his life. Hence, he merely needed routine care at a regular hospital. Inside the hospital, doctors swiftly surrounded Han Bing, conducting meticulous examinations and professional treatments. This patient's condition is miraculous. It seems as though a mysterious force is protecting him. One doctor exclaimed in astonishment, his face reflecting disbelief as the examination report concealed a secret. After delivering Han Bing to the hospital, Gu Yechen turned to leave. Upon returning to the residence of Li Ruoyan's friend, the clock indicated 7 o'clock. How did it go? Li Ruoyan eagerly asked upon seeing Gu Yechen return. Her voice brimmed with tension, her eyes locked onto him. The person has been saved. He is not in grave danger, Gu Yechen replied succinctly, his tone calm, exuding an air of tranquility amidst chaos. Hearing this, Li Ruoyan exhaled in relief, her face breaking into a smile of liberation. Although Gu Yechen did not elaborate, she could surmise that anyone worthy of his effort must be extraordinary. Shu Yao lifted her gaze slightly, casting a fleeting glance at Gu Yechen. In that moment, her eyes seemed to illuminate, akin to a dim star suddenly ignited. A pebble dropped into her heart sent ripples of emotion, striking her profoundly. Gu Yechen's striking handsomeness transcended the ordinary, resembling a being who had stepped out of her most beautiful dreams, embodying the very essence of her long-sought soulmate. Yet, this fleeting brilliance quickly dimmed. Had she been her former pure self, she might have bravely pursued Gu Yechen. However, her innocence had been ruthlessly stripped away. Her first night had been cruelly taken, and an abhorrent video had circulated online. Even if it had been taken down, it had undoubtedly been viewed by many. She felt like a withered flower, unworthy of pursuing such a perfect love. Moreover, the man before her was likely the object of her friend Li Ruoyan's affections, making the thought of vying for her friend's love utterly inconceivable. "Hello, I am Gu Yechen," he said, looking at Chu Yao with gentle, profound eyes. Immediately discerning her past beauty, Chu Yao hesitated, extending her hand slowly toward Gu Yechen's outstretched hand. Yet, just as their fingers were about to touch, she recoiled as if struck by electricity, withdrawing her frail hand. In an instant, she was at a loss, her heart rife with conflict and turmoil. She yearned to grasp Gu Yechen's hand, to feel warmth and strength, yet she believed she no longer deserved such beauty. For a moment, Chu Yao trembled slightly, her demeanor becoming anxious, her hands gripping the hem of her clothing, her eyes reddening, reverting to that vacant, hollow expression. Witnessing this, Li Ruoyan felt a pang of sorrow for Chu Yao, as if pricked by a needle. Just as she intended to speak, Gu Yechen unhesitatingly grasped Chu Yao and Appo's hand, offering a gentle smile. His smile radiated warmth, illuminating the darkness within her closed heart. Name: Chu Yao. Age: 25. Beauty index: 95. Number of times exploited: 1. Experience: once cheerful, optimistic, lively, and helpful, she was drugged at a gathering, filmed, and subjected to video dissemination, ultimately succumbing to severe depression, fluctuating between states of wellness and despair. Upon reviewing Chu Yao's basic information, Gu Yechen's fury towards Duan Yong intensified. A girl so kind-hearted, eager to help, and positively spirited had been destroyed by that shameless scoundrel. Duan Yong deserved nothing less than death. Observing Chu Yao and Appo's helplessness, Gu Yechen smiled gently and said, "This ordeal is not your fault. Thus, you ought to live well and ensure that scoundrel pays for his misdeeds. You must not resign yourself to despair. Instead, bravely pursue a more extraordinary life, for otherwise, you would be yielding to their wishes." Chapter 385. Enlightening Chu Yao. Upon hearing Gu Yechen and Appo's encouraging words, Chu Yao and Appo's eyes sparkled like cold stars ignited with a glimmer of hope. Initially filled with gratitude and confusion, she gazed at Gu Yechen, as if searching for something profound, before shifting her gaze to Li Ruoyan, seemingly seeking support or answers. Yet, within her heart lay a profound chasm, akin to an insurmountable abyss. Once, she had harbored the purest and most beautiful dreams, yearning to gift her untouched innocence to the one destined to be her beloved. However, fate had cruelly toyed with her, shattering those beautiful aspirations like fragile glass. She felt like a withered flower, bereft of the courage and qualification to pursue love. Noticing Chu Yao's distress, Gu Yechen refrained from speaking further, instead grasping her hand tightly, his grip imbued with an invisible strength. He then extended his other hand, gently and tenderly covering her frail hand, conveying a sense of compassion in his gaze. Gu Yechen himself was unaware of the reasons behind his actions. Perhaps it was some deep-seated impulse within him, or perhaps it was simply the reader's and Appo's fondness for such scenarios. Sensing Gu Yechen's gesture, Chu Yao instinctively attempted to withdraw her arm, a reflexive response, yet Gu Yechen tightened his hold. In that moment, Chu Yao's heart became a chaotic mess, and she could only cast a pleading look at Li Ruoyan, filled with urgency, hoping for assistance. However, Li Ruoyan feigned ignorance, secretly elated by her friend's current state, for she understood that Gu Yechen had forcefully breached the long-closed doors of Chu Yao's heart, leaving an indelible mark. She keenly sensed that Chu Yao had likely developed deep feelings for Gu Yechen. At that moment, she was even impulsive enough to wish she could hasten their union, forging a beautiful bond between them. Seeing Li Ruoyan deliberately ignore her plea, Chu Yao felt as if she were lost in a dense fog, unsure of how to proceed. Ultimately resigning herself to Gu Yechen's grasp, he led her slowly to the sofa, where they sat together gently. One of his hands continued to channel spiritual energy into Chu Yao, while the other rested lightly on her pulse, meticulously assessing her physical condition and nurturing her internal injuries with care. The trauma she bore was profound, rendering her a fragile flower battered by storms. Under Gu Yechen's nurturing energy, Chu Yao's condition improved at an astonishing pace, her complexion gradually becoming rosy, reminiscent of blossoms blooming at dawn. The dullness in her eyes was replaced with vitality and spirit, akin to stars twinkling anew in the night sky. As she looked at Gu Yechen, her gaze was filled not only with gratitude but also with a hint of blush, reminiscent of a girl's shyness. "Yechen, thank you this time," she whispered softly. Observing the notable improvement in Chu Yao and Appo's condition, Li Ruoyan finally exhaled in relief, her previously furrowed brows relaxing. She understood well that with Gu Yechen and Apos' intervention, her friend would be safe. With his unwavering support, not only would Chu Yao's physical deficiencies be rectified, but she would also radiate a newfound vitality. Appearing rejuvenated, as if reborn, Li Ruoyan then remarked, "Yechen, I will prepare some food. Let us celebrate together." Her voice brimmed with joy, her face adorned with a radiant smile. Gu Yechen nodded slightly, replying, "That sounds good, but don't go to too much trouble." His tone was gentle, soothing to the ears. Li Ruoyan smiled, turning towards the kitchen to don an apron and begin her preparations. Soon, the sounds of clattering pots and pans filled the kitchen, accompanied by the enticing aroma wafting through the air. In the living room, only Gu Yechen and Chu Yao remained. Chu Yao lowered her head, her past traumatic experiences still shackling her with a heavy weight of inferiority, preventing her from meeting Gu Yechen's gaze. In a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "Mr. Gu, I truly do not know how to repay you." Her tone was filled with helplessness and confusion, akin to a lost lamb in the dark, awaiting its fate. Gu Yechen looked at her, his eyes earnest as he replied, "Chu Yao, living well is the best way to repay me." His voice was resolute, illuminating her heart like a beam of light, instilling hope and courage within her. Chu Yao bit her lip, as if summoning immense resolve. She raised her head and said with newfound determination, "Mr. Gu, I will strive to do my best." A flicker of stubbornness appeared in her eyes, a testament to her aspirations for the future and encouragement for herself. "Call me Yechen, there's no need for formality." Gu Yechen smiled, gently ruffling her hair, his grip on her hand tightening slightly, filled with tenderness. Such an intimate gesture struck Chu Yao and Apos' heart like a bolt of lightning. She had believed her shattered heart could never mend, yet in that fleeting moment, she could distinctly feel her heartbeat quickening, as if it might leap from her throat. At that moment, Li Ruoyan emerged from the kitchen, her heart genuinely elated upon witnessing Gu Yechen holding Chu Yao and Apos' hand. She announced, "Dinner will be ready shortly. Let us chat in the meantime." Flour dusted her face, yet it did not detract from her beauty or joy. The three gathered around the dining table, the atmosphere warm and harmonious, filled with laughter and conversation. After the meal, Gu Yechen turned to Li Ruoyan, his gaze deep and fervent, stating, "It's getting late. We should be on our way." "Where to?" Li Ruoyan inquired, puzzled, her brow furrowing with bewilderment. "Back to the English manor. I wish for your company tonight." Gu Yechen replied with a charming smile, a hint of ambiguity and anticipation in his expression. Li Ruoyan stared, momentarily taken aback, unable to believe her ears. What do you mean?" Her heart raced, tumultuous waves crashing within her, leaving her utterly unprepared for such a proposition. Her voice trembled as her hands instinctively clutched the hem of her clothing. Despite having speculated about Gu Yechen and Apos' potential feelings for her, she never anticipated such a swift declaration, leaving her utterly unready for his words. Chapter 386. Conversation. "I want you to follow me," Gu Yechen whispered softly in her ear, his voice resonant and imbued with an intangible allure, a temptation that was impossible to resist. The warm breath brushed against her ear, sending ripples through her heart. Before them, Chu Yao observed this scene with a gentle smile, as soft and warm as a gentle breeze. Her joy was genuine, for she was truly happy to see her dear friend, Li Ruoyan, find such an outstanding companion in Gu Yechen. Her gaze was filled with blessings, yet tinged with envy. I, Li Ruoyan stammered, uncertain of how to respond, her voice wavering with hesitation and confusion. Yet, she did not resist the hand that Gu Yechen held. Her heart brimmed with affection for him. However, with so many beautiful women surrounding Gu Yechen, she was unsure how she would navigate those relationships. Her heart was in turmoil, torn between her fondness for Gu Yechen and her anxiety over the complexities of their situation. "What do you mean? Are you unwilling?" Gu Yechen feigned a hurt expression, his entire demeanor dimming as if he had lost all his brilliance, appearing momentarily despondent. His eyes filled with disappointment and pain. His gaze resembled that of an injured creature, evoking sympathy. Li Ruoyan had never witnessed such a sorrowful expression on Gu Yechen's face. And in that instant, her heart felt as though it were being tightly gripped by an invisible hand, causing her to struggle for breath. Confused, she blurted out, "Don't be like this. I want to, but I don't know how to interact with the other sisters." Her voice carried a hint of resignation and compromise, yet her eyes sparkled with a glimmer of hope for the future, despite the uncertainty that loomed. Gu Yechen's heart soared with joy as he pressed a kiss onto the back of her hand. "It's all right. Aren't you all quite familiar with each other?" His smile returned, radiant as if the earlier melancholy had never existed, leaving Li Ruoyan both amused and exasperated, rendered helpless in his presence. Upon seeing Gu Yechen, Li Ruoyan realized she had been ensnared once more. However, having already agreed, she shyly admonished him with a blush, "You always bully me." Her tone bore a playful reproach, laced with sweetness. Other sisters? Chu Yao paused, momentarily stunned, her eyes filled with surprise and confusion. She sensed that her friend had fallen into an unknown pit. Yet, were she in the same position, perhaps she would make the same choice. After all, Gu Yechen was simply too perfect, both in appearance and demeanor. An irresistible vortex of charm that drew one in, ensnaring them in its depths. Soon, Gu Yechen's gaze shifted to Chu Yao, intense and fervent, as if he sought to penetrate her innermost thoughts and secrets. Li Ruoyan, observing this, pondered before speaking, "My Yaoer is not someone you can easily win over. You must promise to treat her well, otherwise, I cannot consent." Her tone was protective. Chu Yao had endured too much pain in the past, and she wished to spare her from further suffering. Her eyes, fixed on Gu Yechen, radiated seriousness. Hearing this, Chu Yao felt an overwhelming wave of happiness wash over her. Yet her insecurities began to creep in. Did she truly deserve someone like Gu Yechen? In an instant, her heart was beset by a whirlwind of thoughts. The joy she felt was gradually overshadowed by self-doubt and anxiety, sending her emotions on a tumultuous roller coaster ride. "Yao and Apos. Would you like to be with me? Trust me. I will treat you well." Gu Yechen placed her hand against his chest, allowing her to feel the strength of his heartbeat. His eyes were filled with sincerity. As the saying goes, sincerity is the ultimate weapon. I am not worthy of you." Chu Yao exerted all her strength to utter these words, feeling as though she had lost all vitality afterward, her gaze heavy with anguish. Her voice was faint and tremulous, like a candle flickering in the wind, ready to extinguish at any moment. "Who says that? You are so beautiful and kind. I could not care for you more." Gu Yechen gently ruffled her hair and pulled her into his embrace, gazing tenderly at her. Although their union did not come with the thrill of a lottery win, it mattered little, for he was drawn to her. Feeling the firmness of Gu Yechen's chest, Chu Yao found herself in a daze. Was she truly about to share a man with her best friend? Did she truly deserve Gu Yechen? Countless questions swirled in her mind, leaving her feeling deeply conflicted and lost. Closing her eyes, she took a deep breath and slowly began. "If I were a complete gem, I would unhesitatingly accept your offer, even pursue you in return. But as I am now, I am but a withered flower. The purity I wished to bestow upon my beloved is long gone, and I have been humiliated. Thus I am no longer worthy of you." Her voice quivered, tears welling in her eyes, embodying the unspeakable pain buried deep within her. Each word seemed to emerge from the depths of her soul, laden with unending sorrow and torment. This time, Chu Yao did not shy away but endured the pain, voicing her anguish, her tone still trembling. Gu Yechen gently wiped away her tears, saying, "Yao and Apos, none of this is your fault. Let the past remain in the past. What I cherish is your present and future, your kindness and strength." His voice was tender, akin to the gentle warmth of the sun, soothing her wounded heart. Li Ruoyan approached and grasped Chu Yao's other hand, saying, Yao, stop overthinking. Trust Yechen, and also trust yourself." Her eyes brimmed with encouragement and support, enveloping Chu Yao in a warmth that infused her with strength. As Chu Yao looked at them, the tears she had held back finally cascaded down her cheeks. Gu Yechen was the missing half of her dreams, and she felt an unwavering conviction. Wiping her tears, she nodded and said, "Thank you." Her voice was choked but infused with determination and hope. Then, gazing at Gu Yechen with a tender expression, Chu Yao slowly spoke, her voice soft and frail. "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you." Her eyes were filled with deep affection. Gu Yechen was like a beacon of light in her life, illuminating her dark world and guiding her out of the abyss. Chapter 387. From now on, you have me. Upon uttering these words, her eyes brimmed with tears once more. She could scarcely fathom how she would cope without Gu Yechen and Li Ruoyan by her side. Her family had also suffered unwarranted misfortunes due to her plight. Painful memories surged forth like a relentless tide, causing her body to tremble slightly. Witnessing the frail and helpless demeanor of the woman before him, Gu Yechen and Apos, his heart softened. He could effortlessly discern the authenticity of a woman's emotions. He recognized that Chu Yao's anguish was genuine, and her vulnerability warranted protection. Gu Yechen reached out and enveloped her in his embrace, gently caressing her back in an effort to soothe her troubled spirit. "From now on, you have me," he murmured, placing a tender kiss upon her forehead before whispering in her ear. His voice, akin to an enchanting spell, sent a shiver through Chu Yao's heart. The impact of his words was profoundly overwhelming, instantly halting her tears. She gazed up at Gu Yechen, the one who bestowed upon her boundless hope and pulled her from the depths of despair. Her eyes sparkled with reliance. Perhaps Gu Yechen and Li Ruoyan were her final refuge. Observing the longing exchange between the two, Li Ruoyan smiled and discreetly departed the living room, her heart swelling with joy for her dear friend. Gu Yechen turned his attention back to Chu Yao and leaned down to capture her lips in a kiss. Chu Yao froze momentarily, unsure of how to respond, yet instinctively reciprocated his kiss. In that fleeting moment, time seemed to stand still, and the world faded away, leaving only the two of them. After 2.5 minutes, Gu Yechen released her, saying, "You must eat well. The next time I see you, I intend to devour you." With those words laced with playful innuendo, Chu Yao and Apos' face flushed crimson. Enveloped in the warmth of Gu Yechen and Apos' kiss, she felt utterly weak, her breath quickening and heart racing as if it would leap from her throat. "I understand," Chu Yao replied bashfully, fully aware of the implications of his words. If only she could greet Gu Yechen with the most perfect form, but alas, there were no ifs. Her voice carried a hint of shyness and anticipation. "Would you like to join me upstairs?" Gu Yechen inquired, a faint smile gracing his lips, imbued with a touch of mystery and temptation that made Chu Yao's heart race anew. "Where to?" she asked, momentarily taken aback, her eyes sparkling with curiosity and a tinge of nervousness. "I'm going to enjoy Li Ruoyan. Would you care to join me?" Gu Yechen gently caressed her head, inviting her to lean against his chest. His voice was steeped in suggestiveness, causing Chu Yao's cheeks to flush once more. In an instant, her face turned a deep shade of red as she comprehended the meaning behind his words. Did Gu Yechen intend for a liaison involving both women? But was her body capable of such a feat? Yet, if it were necessary, she might just acquiesce. A flurry of thoughts raced through her mind, mingling shyness with anticipation. Before Chu Yao could respond, Gu Yechen took her hand and led her upstairs. In the room, Li Ruoyan was engrossed in the television, oblivious to the arrival of Gu Yechen and Chu Yao. Her eyes were fixated on the screen, a gentle smile gracing her lips. Gu Yechen approached from behind and enveloped her in his embrace. Startled, Li Ruoyan jumped, turning mechanically to find Gu Yechen and Apos' handsome visage before her. Before she could react, he pressed his lips to her neck, eliciting a soft gasp from her, which she quickly stifled, her cheeks and neck flushed with warmth. He then kissed her lips, leaving her no chance to resist. Yet, she did not oppose. Rather, she melted into the kiss, her hands gradually encircling his neck as her body inched closer to him. Chia watched this scene unfold from the room, her heart brimming with happiness, for her dear friend finally had someone to care for her. Tears glistened in her eyes. Tears born from her joy. At that moment, the atmosphere in the room grew increasingly intimate. Gu Yechen released Li Ruoyan. As night deepened, the room was filled with the warmth of spring. Chu Yao realized she had not enjoyed a restful night in quite some time. The following day, upon waking, Gu Yechen found Li Ruoyan and Chu Yao already awake, preparing breakfast. "Good morning," he greeted as he saw them seated on the sofa, engaged in conversation. "Good morning," Chu Yao replied with a sweet smile. Last night, she had entrusted herself to Gu Yechen, and it filled her with immense joy. "Morning," Li Ruoyan echoed. "What's wrong?" Gu Yechen asked softly as he sat beside Li Ruoyan. Li Ruoyan pouted, "It hurts." Gu Yechen touched his nose, then said, "Well, it's common for girls during their first time." With that, he extended his hand, channeling a gentle energy into her body, alleviating her discomfort with the utmost care. "Does it still hurt?" he inquired, brushing her hair back gently. Li Ruoyan shook her head, surprised at how quickly the pain had dissipated. Gu Yechen gazed at the two exquisite women before him and said softly, "I need to return to the British estate and then depart from Shanghai. Teach Yao and Apos the techniques so she can begin her cultivation. It will benefit her." Li Ruoyan understood that Gu Yechen was engaged in significant matters and bore considerable pressure. So she merely nodded, "Take care of yourself." Gu Yechen nodded in response before taking flight on his sword. At the British estate, Jiang Qingyan had just risen. Adorned in a black lace nightgown, her hair cascading over her shoulders, and her natural beauty was breathtaking. Gu Yechen approached her, gently embracing Jiang Qingyan and savoring her warmth. "I must depart for Kyoto." Jiang Qingyan smiled and asked, "When will you leave?" "Soon. I came to say goodbye." Gu Yechen placed a soft kiss on her forehead. "Don't feel too pressured. Just do your best." Jiang Qingyan refrained from saying much, wishing not to burden Gu Yechen. "Sister, don't worry. I'm fine. I'll be off now." Gu Yechen smiled, pulling her into an embrace. Then, under her watchful gaze, he took flight on his sword. He still needed to head to Kyoto for one last treatment for Chunyu. In truth, with his prowess, he could have cured her effortlessly from the start. The multiple visits were merely to accomplish other tasks. Additionally, there were 100 individuals in the sect striving to ascend the ranks, and he needed to return to oversee them, so time was of the essence. Seated upon his flying sword, Gu Yechen perused the newly available items in the marketplace. However, nothing piqued his interest. 3 spirit energy pills held little value for him. If only he could acquire the legacy of an alchemist. He could then concoct whatever he required at will. After purchasing the 3 pills and placing them in a jade vial within the system's storage, he set off toward Kyoto. Chapter 388. Inspection. Ma Xian personally visited the laboratory at Qingbei University to inspect the progress of the mecha manufacturing. The first combat engagement of the HN being had brought them considerable surprise, as the power of its laser cannon proved to be on par with that of missiles. A single mecha had successfully intercepted 5 new missiles from the Eagle Nation, an achievement of immense strategic significance. "Old Lin, how are things?" Ma Xian, dressed casually yet standing tall, was flanked by several serious-looking bodyguards whose vigilant gazes scanned the surroundings with eagle-like sharpness. Lin Hua and his colleagues were deeply engrossed in their research on the mecha, their expressions grave and brows furrowed, completely absorbed in their work. They were taken aback by Ma Xian and Apos' unexpected arrival, momentarily stunned before reacting. "Prime Minister, what brings you here?" Lin Hua and the others hastily set aside their tasks and approached him, their faces reflecting surprise and respect. Ma Xian's expression was somber, shrouded in a cloud of concern. They had yet to receive any news regarding HN Being, unaware of his fate or the condition of the mecha. The group dispatched to locate HN Being had only reported that he had been taken away, yet they were oblivious to the identity of his captors. Upon their return, they informed their superiors, but due to the lack of concrete information, the higher-ups could not confirm anything, necessitating another search for HN Being, who remained in a state of unconsciousness. Although Gu Yechen had saved him, it was merely to preserve his life. Even after being treated in the hospital, he would require several days of rest. Ma Xian looked at the group and spoke. "Did you watch the news yesterday?" His voice was low and serious, imbued with an unspoken weight. The others hesitated, having been deeply focused on the mecha and Apos' development, and thus neglecting other matters. "No," they replied in unison. Their eyes filled with curiosity as they awaited his next words. Ma Xian nodded, sensing their ignorance of the news. "Yesterday, the Eagle Nation engaged in warfare with our country in the South China Sea. However, we emerged victorious." His gaze swept over the group, revealing a flicker of complex emotion. "What was the cost?" Lin Hua and Apos' brow furrowed, fully aware of the vast disparity between the two nations, an acknowledgement of reality rather than a mere expression of pessimism. 3 aircraft carriers and 30 warships from the Eagle Nation sank, while 12 of our own vessels were lost. Ma Xian and Apos' face darkened, and his voice grew heavier as he continued. HN Being played a significant role in this conflict, but the Eagle Nation launched 20 supersonic missiles at him. The mecha was struck, and both HN Being and the mecha are currently unaccounted for. "What?" Lin Hua's eyes widened in shock, disbelief flooding his expression. He desperately sought a different outcome from Ma Xian's lips, yet the harsh truth was unmistakable. What was the performance of the mecha? After a moment of heavy silence, Lin Hua finally mustered the courage to inquire, knowing the odds of HN Being's survival were slim, given the devastating impact of the supersonic missiles. "Remarkably well. HN Being intercepted 5 of the Eagle Nation's new missiles. Initially, we were unable to counter such missiles. Without the mecha, the consequences would have been dire. Furthermore, he sank 2 frigates. Had it not been for those 20 supersonic missiles, the outcome could have been even more impressive." Ma Xian expressed a sense of relief, his eyes reflecting admiration for the mecha's performance. Without HN Being, the casualties in Guangdong province could have been substantial. Upon hearing this, the researchers in the laboratory were astounded. The interception of 5 missiles was no trivial feat. It indicated that the mecha could indeed defend against missile attacks from the Eagle Nation. What if each province were equipped with 10 mechas? Such a scenario could facilitate absolute defensive counterattacks and potentially grant them the initiative on the battlefield. Do not get overly excited. Unfortunately, we have yet to locate either HN Being or the mecha designed by Yechen for comparison, so you must expedite your efforts. The nation and its people are in dire need of this equipment, Ma Xian stated earnestly, his gaze sweeping over each researcher, filled with anticipation and trust. Before the emergence of practitioners cultivated by Gu Yechen, the mecha was their primary source of confidence. Moreover, the mecha played a crucial role. It would not be easy for practitioners to confront missiles unarmed, thus underscoring the continued importance of mechas as the mainstay of military armament. Rest assured, Prime Minister, our research is already 70% complete. However, in comparison to young friend Yechen's mecha, there may still be a gap. Lin Hua candidly shared his thoughts after thoughtful consideration. Nonetheless, we have confirmed that it operates effectively. We conducted tests, yet the power of the laser cannon is only half that of Yechen's design. Regardless of our adjustments and experiments, Lin Hua and Apos' expression turned grave as he conveyed their persistent struggle to reach the performance level of Gu Yechen and Apos' mecha. If only Yechen could be present for guidance, we could achieve results more swiftly. Lin Hua expressed his thoughts, recognizing Gu Yechen and Apos' unparalleled expertise in mecha design. Ma Xian bowed his head in contemplation, fully cognizant of Gu Yechen's significance. However, Yechen was currently occupied with matters of greater importance. The nation had always adhered to principles of respect and consultation, refraining from imposing any obligations upon him. This may prove challenging, as Yechen has pressing responsibilities that are critical to the events of the coming year, Ma Xian subtly indicated, making the gravity of the situation clear to Lin Hua and the others. Lin Hua nodded, understanding that someone of Gu Yechen's caliber would indeed be exceedingly busy. He glanced at the mecha data and stated, "Then we must exert ourselves to the utmost. You are the nation's researchers, the foremost authorities on mecha development. and you embody the direction of our nation's advancements in this field. Both the Dragon Lord and we expect you to manufacture more powerful mechas. Ma Xian articulated the high hopes of the senior officials present in the meeting room. Lin Hua and his colleagues nodded solemnly, fully aware of the weight of their responsibilities. Ma Xian continued, the international situation is becoming increasingly complex. We must accelerate our efforts to enhance our military capabilities to seize the initiative in future scenarios. Prime Minister, rest assured, we will work tirelessly to complete our mission as swiftly as possible, Lin Hua affirmed resolutely. Ma Xian patted Lin Hua on the shoulder. I appreciate your hard work, but do take care of your health and maintain a balance between labor and rest. What we require is sustainable combat capability. With that, Ma Xian surveyed the laboratory once more before preparing to depart, accompanied by his bodyguards. However, at that moment, Chapter 389, Explanation of Mecha Structure Manufacturing. Gu Yechen appeared outside the laboratory, riding his sword as the wind howled around him, descending like a bolt of lightning from the sky. Academician Gu. The soldiers stationed outside, witnessing his descent, widened their eyes in disbelief, their mouths agape in astonishment. Despite their staunch materialism and skepticism towards the supernatural, the figure before them evoked a profound sense of awe, akin to witnessing a celestial being gracing the mortal realm. Gu Yechen nodded at them and spoke, thank you for your hard work. Here are some vitality pills. They will be beneficial to you. He tossed out a dozen vitality pills before striding confidently into the laboratory. Each soldier received one, yet none consumed them immediately, for they were soldiers. Their discipline and principles ingrained deeply within their beings. As Gu Yechen entered the laboratory, he encountered Ma Xian, who was preparing to leave. Yechen? Lin Hua. Upon seeing Gu Yechen, momentarily thought he was hallucinating, but upon closer inspection, excitement surged within him. His eyes widened, and a joyful smile blossomed on his face as he hurried towards Gu Yechen. Gu Yechen's arrival signified that their mecha development could advance further, prompting the others to rush over as well. Are you Yechen? Ma Xian inquired, his expression warm and friendly, admiration gleaming in his eyes. The young man before him was a talent of the nation, a pillar of strength, and thus he felt compelled to display his affability. Yes, and you are? Gu Yechen asked, not using his void eye to discern the identity before him, but sensing from the powerful bodyguards surrounding him that the individual held a significant position. Yechen, this is our Vice Premier Ma Xian. He is here to inspect the mecha and oppos. Progress. Lin Hua introduced, his tone filled with respect. Hello, young man. It is indeed a great honor for our nation to have you. Ma Xian extended his hand, his smile gentle and kind, his gaze full of care and expectations for the younger generation. Gu Yechen shook Ma Xian's hand and replied, it is nothing extraordinary. As a citizen of this great nation, it is only natural to strive for its rejuvenation. Excellent. It is rare to find such patriotic spirit in the youth. On behalf of the Dragon Lord and the country, thank you for your faith in our nation, Ma Xian expressed with genuine delight, his eyes shining with approval. While there are many scientists in Huagua, even globally, the core of scientific advancement lies within them. Regrettably, many serve other nations. A matter that is delicate for the country to address, as everyone has their aspirations. Yechen, your timing is fortuitous. Our mecha has encountered a bottleneck, regardless of the research. We have only achieved about half of what is needed. What is the issue? Lin Hua eagerly pulled Gu Yechen towards the mecha manufacturing site, his steps brisk and his face filled with urgency. Well done, Gu Yechen remarked, observing the preliminary model of the mecha before him, nodding appreciatively. However, we still fall short of expectations. Despite our best efforts, we have reached this point and need your assistance in the coming days, Lin Hua explained, his voice tinged with helplessness and fatigue. Indeed, the whereabouts of Han Bing are still unknown, and we must expedite the creation of a backup mecha, another academician interjected gravely, his brow furrowed with concern. Upon hearing this, Gu Yechen frowned, perplexed. He had rescued Han Bing and sent her to the hospital. How could she still be unaccounted for? Could it be that she had perished? Han Bing is unaccounted for? Gu Yechen asked, his gaze filled with confusion. Ma Xian nodded gravely, indeed. We have yet to receive any updates on Han Bing or the mecha. It is likely that the situation is dire. Our satellites have failed to locate the mecha. His tone was heavy, his expression rife with worry. I distinctly remember sending Han Bing to the hospital. Has there been no report made to the higher authorities? Gu Yechen queried, his confusion mounting, as such matters should have been reported by now. The revelation left everyone astounded. Ma Xian quickly pressed, Yechen, you claim to have rescued Han Bing? Why have we not received any news? His voice was urgent, his gaze fixed intently on Gu Yechen. Gu Yechen pondered briefly before responding, I cannot say for certain, but I did indeed rescue Han Bing, and the rescue team was aware of her being evacuated. Thus, I am perplexed as to why you have not received any updates. With a wave of his hand, a mecha materialized before them, the very one struck by a missile. Its exterior was severely damaged, yet had successfully withstood the missile and oppos' assault. What is this? Lin Hua exclaimed, his excitement palpable as he rushed towards the mecha. His steps were hurried, his eyes gleaming with eagerness and desire. The other researchers were equally astonished, mouths agape as they stared at the mecha. The sight of the mecha left everyone in a state of shock. The surface was riddled with scars, especially the chest area, which was severely concaved, likely the point of impact from the missile. Had the materials been of lesser quality, the occupants would have had no chance of survival. This holds immense research value for us, but time is of the essence, and we must base our new designs on this mecha, Lin Hua stated solemnly. Gently caressing the mecha and Oppo's surface, feeling the remnants of its fierce battle. Yechen, I know you are quite busy, but we hope you can guide us just this once. It won't take much of your time, will it? Lin Hua's gaze was fraught with anticipation and anxiety, uncertain if Gu Yechen would agree. However, he did not expect that even without Lin Hua's plea, Gu Yechen had already resolved to lend his guidance. Especially since one mecha had been rendered useless and needed to be reconstructed. Not at all, please proceed. What are the issues? Gu Yechen smiled, finding it a trivial matter. Lin Hua and the team detailed all the problems they had encountered, and Gu Yechen listened attentively, nodding occasionally, lost in thought at times. After they finished, Gu Yechen began addressing each concern, leaving the researchers thoroughly astonished. Once he had shared all that was necessary, he made his exit, having conveyed all he needed. If they still did not comprehend, it would be time for a change in personnel. At that moment, Gu Yechen's phone rang. Su Qingqing. Gu Yechen paused, realizing it had been a long time since he last saw the beautiful senior. Hello? Senior. Gu Yechen answered the call. Chapter 390. An indirect kiss with Su Qingqing. Is there any connection between the news and you? Su Qingqing recalled the time Gu Yechen took her to see the mechas and how he could fly, filling her heart with curiosity and speculation. A hint of confusion flickered in her bright eyes, her voice tinged with urgency. Senior, you actually noticed. Gu Yechen smiled, his grin as warm as the sun. To him, Su Qingqing was undoubtedly a breathtaking beauty, and they had shared intimate moments, having held hands before. Senior, did you miss me? Gu Yechen teased, his tone playful, resembling a lively boy, starkly contrasting with his usual composed demeanor. You're such a chatterbox. Su Qingqing, having just taken a bite at the cafeteria, blushed suddenly upon seeing Gu Yechen and Oppo's message, her face resembling the beautiful glow of dusk. Qingqing, what's wrong? Her roommate was taken aback by Su Qingqing and Oppo's appearance. The usually aloof and graceful flower of their dorm turning red while eating was truly astonishing. It's nothing. Trying to regain her usual icy composure, Su Qingqing masked her inner turmoil upon hearing her roommate's inquiry. Which junior is it? Her roommate, skeptical of the nonchalance, directly asked with curiosity. Is it that Gu Yechen? Another roommate chimed in, her eyes sparkling with gossiping enthusiasm. They all shared the same dorm and were aware of Su Qingqing's rumored beau, Gu Yechen. Their hand-holding photos still lingered in the campus trending topics, with daily debates of envy and disdain towards Gu Yechen. No. There and Oppo's, nothing going on. Su Qingqing sipped her soy milk, growing increasingly flushed, her cheeks adorned with a delicate blush that was irresistible. Her bashful demeanor resembled a flower poised to bloom, evoking affection. Qingqing, stop hiding it. Your cheeks have never been this red before. One of her roommates teased, her eyes gleaming with mirth. We don't have any relationship. So don't say that. Su Qingqing replied shyly, her voice softened. She was perplexed by her own reaction, feeling bashful when teased. A rarity that only occurred in Gu Yechen's presence. Could it be that I really like Gu Yechen? How could that be? A flicker of joy surged within Su Qingqing. Usually, when others insinuated a connection, she would dismiss it with an emotionless rebuttal. What's so embarrassing? You're stunning. This is the first time we've seen you display such emotion. Qingqing, however, I heard that Gu Yechen seems to have a girlfriend and quite a few admirers. Her roommate expressed concern, her gaze filled with care for Su Qingqing. I know. Su Qingqing took a bite of her noodles, her expression clouded with sadness. A flicker of disappointment passing through her eyes. She was well aware of the many women surrounding Gu Yechen, and their relationships were far from ordinary. However, she had no intention of rushing to play the role of the third party. What do you think? Are you going to make an effort, or just let it be? Her roommate looked at Su Qingqing, curiosity evident in her gaze. They were aware of Gu Yechen's exceptional qualities, being the top student with a perfect score. Most importantly, he could soar through the skies. It was understandable that he would attract numerous admirers. Who wouldn't he want a boyfriend who could fly? I don't know. Su Qingqing openly shared her thoughts, her eyes reflecting confusion. The first time she laid eyes on Gu Yechen, she was captivated by his charm and aura. Otherwise, her cool demeanor would never have allowed a boy to hold her hand. At that moment, Gu Yechen appeared behind Su Qingqing and took a swig of her milk. Senior, this milk is quite good. Gu Yechen glanced at the others and flashed a mischievous smile, leaving them in shock. Upon seeing Gu Yechen, Su Qingqing's eyes lit up. Her heart raced uncontrollably, as if it might leap from her throat, and her cheeks flushed instantly. This is what I drank. ISNT that. Su Qingcheng felt a mix of disbelief and embarrassment as she realized he had just consumed her milk. The thought of their lips touching made her voice trail off, tinged with shyness. After hearing Su Qingcheng's words, Gu Yechen, without thinking, blurted out, "An indirect kiss?" In an instant, Su Qingcheng lowered her head, wishing she could find a hole to hide in. With so many people in the cafeteria, Gu Yechen had brazenly stated it aloud, and she wished to disappear. "I haven't eaten yet." Gu Yechen glanced at the bun Su Qingcheng had bitten into and snatched it away to take a bite. "This is what I've eaten." Su Qingcheng's face turned an even deeper shade of crimson, as if it might bleed. Her roommates were left dumbfounded, astonished at the audacity of this junior, especially in front of so many onlookers. "It doesn't matter. I'm not picky." Gu Yechen ruffled her hair, beaming as he spoke, his eyes filled with affection. For a moment, Su Qingcheng felt her mind blank, her thoughts in disarray. How could she, so composed, appear so girl-like in front of Gu Yechen? Their interactions felt akin to those of a sweet couple. Don't do that. What if your girlfriend sees?" Su Qingcheng steadied herself to speak, a hint of worry in her voice. "It's fine. They won't be jealous." Gu Yechen smiled gently, his charm radiating warmth like the sun melting away winter's chill. However, with so many witnesses in the cafeteria, Gu Yechen and Appo's actions had already branded him as a rogue in the eyes of many, swiftly trending on campus forums. Observers felt a mix of envy and irritation, especially with his past flirtations with Xia Yutong and now his connection to Su Qingcheng. "I must ask, Junior, how many girlfriends do you have?" Even if Qingcheng were to agree, we cannot just watch her become a mere side character, or worse. One of Su Qingcheng's roommates, serious in her demeanor, confronted Gu Yechen, concerned about the multitude of women surrounding him and their impact on Su Qingcheng. Chapter 391. The meeting of two school beauties. Upon hearing this, Gu Yechen smiled faintly, his enchanting smile directed towards Su Qingcheng. "Senior, matters of the heart cannot be measured by quantity. I am sincere to each individual. Moreover, the bond between Qingcheng and myself is unique and incomparable to others." His gaze towards Su Qingcheng burned with intensity, rendering his sincerity undeniable. Su Qingcheng's roommates, witnessing this, could only shake their heads in helplessness, finding themselves unable to counter the interpretation of Playboy that had been thrust upon him. They looked at Gu Yechen with a hint of dissatisfaction, yet felt powerless to intervene. Su Qingcheng, her face flushed with embarrassment, bit her lip, her luscious red lips resembling cherries, invoking an irresistible desire to kiss them. She gazed at Gu Yechen, playfully chiding, "Gu Yechen, do not speak nonsense. Who has feelings for you?" Her voice trembled slightly, clearly betraying the turmoil within her that contrasted sharply with her outward calm. Gu Yechen, however, merely chuckled, a confident smile gracing his lips. "Senior, do not be so stubborn. How could I not know your thoughts?" With that, he boldly took her small hand, leaving no room for her to react. The moment his hand clasped hers, a tingling sensation coursed through her heart, leaving Su Qingcheng momentarily dazed. Her heart raced as if a fawn were bounding within her chest. Indeed, Su Qingcheng harbored such feelings, but having them articulated in front of so many people left her feeling both shy and indignant. She shot Gu Yechen a glare, yet refrained from further protest. Her expression held both reproach and a barely perceptible sweetness. At this moment, whispers began to circulate among the surrounding students. Some remarked on Gu Yechen's notorious flirtations, while others deemed Su Qingcheng foolish. Their murmurs surged like a tide. Unable to contain herself, one of Su Qingcheng's roommates urged, "Qingcheng, do not let him deceive you." Her tone was urgent and filled with concern, hoping Su Qingcheng might regain her clarity. Yet, at that moment, Su Qingcheng found herself utterly disarmed by Gu Yechen's sweet words. Unable to resist, her heart was already ensnared by his honeyed phrases, rendering her incapable of escape. Taking a deep breath, she suppressed her emotions to maintain her composure. "I know what I am doing." Though her voice was resolute, the slight tremor revealed the anxiety lurking beneath. Gu Yechen looked at Su Qingcheng, his eyes brimming with affection. He gently brushed his fingers through her hair and whispered, "Senior, trust me." His voice was low, imbued with an irresistible charm. Blushing, Su Qingcheng turned her head away and softly replied, "Who would believe you?" Yet the corners of her mouth curled upward, as if her heart had already found its answer. Nevertheless, the uncertainty of the journey ahead felt akin to gambling. Gu Yechen broke off a small piece of bun and held it near Su Qingcheng's lips, coaxing gently, "Ah?" Open wide. His movements were tender, his gaze filled with adoration. "I am not a child," she retorted, bemused by Gu Yechen's childlike antics. Yet, despite her protests, she obediently took a bite, her eyes reflecting a blend of resignation, compliance, and enjoyment. Who would not wish for their partner's affection? How could it be the same? Gu Yechen laughed, his warmth illuminating Su Qingcheng's heart in an instant. Just then, Xia Yutong and her roommate arrived at the cafeteria, spotting a figure resembling Gu Yechen, but seated with Su Qingcheng, leaving them puzzled. "Ah Chen, is that really you?" Xia Yutong exclaimed, her voice ringing with surprise, melodious like the sound of silver bells. Oh no, the scene has turned chaotic. As onlookers grew in number, their initial animosity towards Gu Yechen transformed into admiration. After all, two stunning beauties were vying for his attention. What made him so fortunate? Many felt a pang of envy, yet remained helpless. Their eyes were glued to the trio, eagerly anticipating a captivating spectacle. Xiao Tong. Gu Yechen was momentarily taken aback upon seeing Xia Yutong, an unexpected glimmer flashing in his eyes. He had not anticipated her arrival so soon. Xia Yutong assessed the situation, glancing between Gu Yechen and Su Qingqing, and instantly comprehended. Gu Yechen had indeed set his sights on Su Qingqing again. A flicker of subtle disappointment crossed her features, but she quickly masked it. When did you arrive at school? Though she bore no ill will towards Gu Yechen's interactions with other women, she felt a twinge of annoyance that he hadn't informed her of his arrival. Her tone carried an undertone of reproach, her slightly pouting lips appearing exceptionally endearing. I just got here. I sent you a message. Did you not see it? Gu Yechen replied, his expression one of surprise. Confusion clouded his eyes. Unable to fathom why Xia Yutong had not received his message, he had texted her upon his arrival, announcing he was at the cafeteria. Xia Yutong hastily checked her phone, and upon seeing Gu Yechen's message, a smile blossomed on her face, radiating joy. I just saw it. Won't you introduce us? Xia Yutong inquired, casting a curious glance at Su Qingqing, eager to discover what made this woman so captivating to Gu Yechen. Feeling somewhat awkward, Gu Yechen rubbed the bridge of his nose and cleared his throat. This is Su Qingqing. You may call her Qingqing Jia or Su Xuejia. His voice bore a hint of unease, clearly feeling guilty about the introduction. Naturally, Xia Yutong was aware of Su Qingqing, as she was their counselor. However, she felt a twinge of annoyance at the thought of having to address so many as sister, even though she had arrived first. Yet, her expression soon softened as Gu Yechen perceived her sentiments, taking her hand and guiding her to sit down, affectionately pinching her cheek, which instantly uplifted her spirits. Her emotions soared like a roller coaster, shooting from the depths to the heights. Truly a master. The cafeteria patrons observed how effortlessly Gu Yechen defused the potential tension, leaving them unaware of any turmoil. They could not help but admire him, their gazes filled with respect and envy, marveling at his adeptness in handling the situation. How has your training been progressing? Gu Yechen asked Xia Yutong, his eyes gentle yet inquisitive. I just broke through to the second level yesterday. Xia Yutong's expression radiated a longing for praise, prompting a smile from Gu Yechen. Her eyes sparkled with anticipation, much like a child waiting for a compliment. Chapter 392. The Su family indeed. It seems that you have been diligently cultivating. Gu Yechen gently ruffled her hair, his touch tender and filled with affection. Xia Yutong instantly felt a wave of delight wash over her, her face radiating a smile of pure happiness, one that emanated from the depths of her heart, utterly content. Is there something you wish to discuss during your visit? Xia Yutong inquired, her gaze fixed on Gu Yechen. In her recollection, he had pressing matters to attend to and should not be here. A hint of curiosity shimmered in her autumn-like eyes. Firstly, I am here to address the issue of the mechas, then to meet with senior sister Su and yourself, and finally, to assist Chinyu with her health. Gu Yechen stated without reservation, his tone calm and unwavering. The mecha? Is the one featured in the news your creation? Xia Yutong's eyes sparkled with intrigue, and the onlookers around them wore expressions of sheer astonishment. The mecha from Huagua had achieved remarkable success in the South China Sea battle, an event that had garnered considerable media coverage and sparked online fervor. Their gazes were filled with wonder and anticipation, eagerly awaiting Gu Yechen's response. Indeed, the previous mecha was rendered inoperative after being struck by a missile, and I have come to help the nation rectify this issue. Gu Yechen's confidence shone through, his subtle smile accentuating his striking appearance. An aura of self-assuredness and poise emanated from him, captivating those around him. When did you become adept at mecha manufacturing? I had no knowledge of this talent. Xia Yutong expressed her bewilderment. Although she felt familiar with Gu Yechen, she had never heard of his skill in this area. Her eyes brimming with curiosity as if trying to unveil the secrets he harbored. Gu Yechen playfully offered a piece of baozi to Su Qingqing, feeding her a sip of milk afterward. I've always possessed this ability. You simply never inquired. He replied, his actions fluid and practiced, as if he had performed them countless times before. His gaze towards Su Qingqing was imbued with a hint of tenderness. Xia Yutong couldn't and amp, Oppos, T helped but chuckle at Su Qingqing, noticing her cheeks flush crimson. The rosy hue of her face resembled that of a ripe apple, clearly revealing her bashfulness. The sight of her shyness was irresistibly charming. Are you treating me like a child? Su Qingqing looked at Gu Yechen, unable to restrain herself from voicing her thoughts. Her eyes held a trace of playful reproach, yet they sparkled with a different kind of sweetness, revealing the joy hidden within her heart. Senior sister, how about you feed me instead? Gu Yechen suggested, a glimmer of excitement in his eyes akin to a child yearning for candy. You're thinking too much. I simply refuse to be treated like a child. Su Qingqing shook her head, her tone resolute, though a flicker of hesitation danced in her gaze, momentarily betraying her resolve. "Ah, I never considered you a child," Gu Yechen declared, leaning in to plant a gentle kiss on her cheek. Oh, in an instant, the cafeteria erupted into a cacophony of excitement. You, Su Qingcheng and Appo's cheeks flared with embarrassment once more, her hand instinctively covering the spot where Gu Yechen had kissed her, flustered by his public display of affection. At that moment, she found herself at a loss, her heart racing like a startled deer, her thoughts tangled in a whirlwind. The surrounding students began to cheer, their voices rising in a clamorous wave, filling the entire cafeteria with a raucous atmosphere. Xia Yutong clapped her hands in delight, thrilled to witness this spectacle, grateful for a sister to share the spotlight. Recently, she had become enamored with cultivation, especially after learning of impending events a year hence, fueling her dedication to her training. Her eyes radiated determination, for cultivation had become the most significant aspect of her life. Gu Yechen, you are too much, Su Qiqing chided playfully. Though the irritation in her gaze was feigned, more evident was her bashfulness and helplessness, her slightly pouting lips appearing irresistibly cute. Gu Yechen merely smiled, a look of satisfaction gracing his features, his grin illuminating everything around him like sunlight. Xia Yutong observed with a smile of her own. At that moment, Su Qingqing's phone rang, and upon answering, her expression shifted slightly. The change was as sudden as a clear sky darkening with clouds, casting a shadow of unease. What is it? Gu Yechen asked, concern lacing his voice, his eyes betraying his worry. I have an urgent matter at home. I must leave, Su Qingqing said hurriedly. Turning to depart, her steps were brisk, as if an invisible force propelled her onward. Wait for me. I shall accompany you, Gu Yechen said, grasping her delicate hand and glancing at Xia Yutong. Tong, after you finish eating, return to your class. I will accompany Qingqing to see what is amiss. He affectionately tousled Xia Yutong's hair and placed a kiss on her forehead. All right, you two go ahead, Xia Yutong encouraged, eager for Gu Yechen to depart so she could focus on her studies and cultivation. A date? There is no time. Seek someone else. Her thoughts had already soared towards her training, momentarily disregarding all else. In the spacious and brightly lit hall of the Su family, the atmosphere was thick with tension, as if it could be cut with a knife. How shall we resolve this? Let us discuss, a commanding middle-aged man spoke, casting his gaze over the assembly. His voice was deep and powerful, capable of penetrating hearts. This was Su Xiong, the head of the Su family, and at that moment, his brow was furrowed, his eyes reflecting profound concern. Head, if nothing else works, we may have to resort to a marriage alliance, an elder remarked gravely, looking up at Su Xiong. His face bore the marks of time, each wrinkle telling tales of life's trials. Su Xiong narrowed his eyes at the speaker, a flicker of anger igniting within him, though he kept his composure. Discontent flashed across his face, yet he restrained himself from lashing out. Surely, our Su family has not reached the point of sacrificing our daughters for a marriage alliance? Su Xiong scanned the room, his tone tinged with disdain. His voice carried an air of authority, for in his eyes, the dignity of the Su family was inviolable. At that moment, a middle-aged man named Siyu spoke up. Head, according to our intelligence, the Fu family possesses a practitioner whose strength is reportedly at the 6th level of Qi refinement. One of our 10th-tier warriors faced him and was instantaneously defeated. Chapter 393. The proposal from the Fu family. His voice bore a hint of helplessness and anxiety, as the weight of this news loomed like a heavy mountain on his heart, nearly suffocating him. What? Upon hearing this news, Su Xiong was instantly consumed by rage. Crushing the teacup in his hand with a forceful grip, the sharp sound of shattering echoing painfully in the silent hall. He was enveloped in fury, veins bulging on his arms like writhing worms, an ominous sight, with his eyes ablaze with seething anger, as if on the verge of erupting. For, if they were indeed cultivators, the Su family would have little chance of standing against them, unless they too could find cultivators capable of matching them. Yet, how difficult would that be? Cultivators were as rare as precious gems. They had not even laid eyes on one. Sigh. Must our Su family daughters be forced into marriage with the Fu family? That Fu Qing is nothing but a scion of debauchery, indulging in all vices, and has allegedly harmed numerous women. An elder sighed deeply, the sound steeped in endless sorrow. In his view, the Su family had fallen into a desperate predicament, as if trapped in a quagmire, unable to extricate themselves. The room fell into a heavy silence, all present rendered mute, the only sounds being the weighty breaths and the occasional stifled sighs. The atmosphere felt as though it had solidified, time seemingly suspended, the oppressive mood rendering it nearly impossible to breathe. At that moment, Su Xiong's phone rang, the sharp ringtone cutting through the silence like a knife. Hello? Su Xiong struggled to suppress his irritation, his voice low and hoarse. Hello, Uncle Su, this is Fu Qing. I spoke with my father, and I want your daughter, Su Qingqing, to marry me. Fu Qing chuckled, his tone dripping with arrogance and satisfaction, as if everything was within his grasp. Just you? Dream on. Upon hearing Fu Qing's words, Su Xiong's fury surged to its peak, and he forcefully hung up the phone, his veins throbbing, radiating anger like a volcano poised to erupt. In his eyes, Fu Qing was utterly unworthy of his precious daughter, lacking any qualification to wed her. His chest heaved violently, the flames of rage threatening to burst forth. Yet he fought to contain them. However, just after he hung up, the phone rang again. Glancing at the caller ID, Su Xiong's expression darkened considerably. As the call was from Fu Feng, the head of the Fu family. The members of the Su family also wore grave expressions. A call at this moment surely boded ill. Taking a deep breath to steady his tumultuous emotions, he answered, "What can I do for you, Brother Fu?" Though his voice was calm, a hint of vigilance was unmistakable. On the other end, Fu Feng chuckled, "Brother Su, I have a rather unwelcome request, and I hope you will consider it." A nagging intuition warned Su Xiong that this visitor bore ill intent. He forced a smile and replied, "Please, Brother Fu, do share." His tone was laced with perfunctory politeness, while internally he raced to devise a strategy for the impending crisis. With a beaming smile, Fu Feng continued, "Your daughter, Qingqing, is a paragon of beauty, akin to a celestial maiden. I would like to take the liberty of proposing on behalf of my son, Fu Qing. What do you think?" His voice carried an air of coercion, suggesting that this was not a negotiation but rather an edict. "Brother Su, you must think this over carefully." Fu Feng's tone turned menacing, laden with implication. "Are you threatening me?" Su Xiong's expression soured as he questioned. No, I am merely reminding you," Fu Feng replied, his demeanor chilling. Su Xiong inhaled deeply, striving to control his emotions, stating firmly, "Brother Fu, I cannot agree to this union. My daughter of the Su family shall never marry a man of such ill repute, and her marriage is ultimately her decision." His voice held resolute conviction, his gaze unwavering. "Su Xiong, you must understand the consequences of rejecting the Fu family. They are not something you can endure." Fu Feng's tone turned foreboding, as cold as a winter's breeze, cutting to the bone. "Humph, my Su family is not a mere soft persimmon to be squeezed at will. Should the Fu family try to force our hand, we shall be prepared to fight to the bitter end," Su Xiong retorted fiercely, his eyes gleaming with determination. If it came to that, they would be ready for a desperate struggle. "Very well. In that case, let us wait for Qingqing's consent." With that, Fu Feng hung up decisively, the sound of the disconnect resonating like a final ultimatum to the Su family. "Master, what now?" The members of the Su family looked towards Su Xiong, their faces etched with anxiety and concern. Su Xiong's expression was grim as he relayed, "Fu Feng wishes to propose for his wayward son to marry Qingqing." Upon hearing this, the Su family members erupted with anger, the flames of indignation igniting in their eyes. "Although we may not rival the Fu family, we are not at the point of selling our daughters for survival. If they wish to meddle with us, they will pay the price." Su Yu trembled with rage, his eyes burning with fury. Using the Su family as leverage was the most disgraceful act imaginable and utterly unacceptable. At this moment, dignity and family honor loomed paramount. The Fu family is powerful, we must devise a plan to address this. "For now, let us keep this matter under wraps," Su Xiong said, his expression serious as he surveyed the group. They understood the gravity of the situation and would not let this information slip. Moreover, the Fu family's attempt to swallow the Su family would not come without significant cost. Fu family Fu Feng lounged on a lavish sofa, squinting at the phone in his hand, a glint of malice flickering in his eyes. "Dad, how is it going?" Fu Qing inquired impatiently, having long coveted Su Qingqing. He had pursued her multiple times, only to be rebuffed, leaving him with no opportunity. His face betrayed a mix of eagerness and desire, as he envisioned Su Qingqing as his prize. "Why the rush? Sooner or later, Su Qingqing will be yours. The Su family cannot protect her," Fu Feng replied, sipping his tea with a tone of indifference, yet an undercurrent of authority revealed his control over the situation. Hearing his father and Appo's words, Fu Qing breathed a sigh of relief. Resolute in his pursuit of Su Qingqing, her beauty was unparalleled. If he could win her over, she would be the most exquisite conquest among his past liaisons. The thought of the typically aloof Su Qingqing lying beneath him filled him with delight, a lewd grin spreading across his face. For who does not relish the thrill of seducing a beauty? His mind began to conjure various indecent scenarios, his expression becoming increasingly grotesque and twisted. Fu Feng picked up his phone and dialed, instructing his company to exert pressure on the Su family's business, then made another call to the Qi master, Master Yun. "I would like to request your assistance once more." Chapter 394, The Fu Family and Appo's intentions against Su Qingqing. Before them stood a middle-aged man, approximately 60 years of age, his expression devoid of emotion. The weathered lines etched upon his face bore testament to the passage of time, yet could not conceal the depths of his cold and detached gaze. After dedicating the majority of his life to cultivation, he had only achieved the 6th level of Qi refinement. Thus, when the Fu family invited him to become a protector, he readily acquiesced without a moment's hesitation. However, each time they sought his assistance, it came at a considerable cost, with fees varying according to the circumstances. the last time he acted. Extinguishing a 10th-tier martial artist from the Su family, he charged an exorbitant sum of 100 million. Fu Feng had pondered long and hard before deciding to solicit his services, initially intending to coerce Su Xiong into consenting to marry his son to Su Qiqing. Given the current situation, it seemed that only drastic measures would suffice. What is it? The man, known as Master Yuan, was a wandering cultivator who, in his youth, had fortuitously stumbled upon an exceedingly rudimentary technique. Lacking knowledge of its authenticity, he had spent decades painstakingly refining his skills through trial and error. His voice was flat and indifferent, as if nothing could disturb the calm waters of his heart. He cared little for matters outside his own interests. Payment was paramount. Without it, there was no discussion. I wish for you to deal with the Su family, and if possible, to capture Su Qingcheng, Fu Feng declared, a glint of ruthlessness flashing in his eyes, akin to a ravenous wolf. If his son could possess Su Qiqing, they could consummate their union, leaving the Su family powerless once she became pregnant. Who is Su Qiqing? Yun Tian inquired, his gaze unperturbed. Yet a flicker of unusual light danced within the depths of his tranquil eyes. Fu Feng felt a jolt of surprise. Under normal circumstances, Yun Tian rarely asked questions, indicating that today was indeed peculiar. Su Qingcheng is the daughter of Su Xiong. My son is fond of her, and thus I hope for a deeper connection. Fu Feng explained, presenting a photograph of Su Qingcheng for Yun Tian to remember, cautious even over the phone. This girl is truly remarkable. I will take her. Should your son desire her, he may have her after I have had my turn, Yun Tian remarked, his body responding with an unsettling stir of desire upon seeing Su Qingcheng's image, revealing an unsettling glimmer of greed that was repugnant to behold. Fu Feng's expression shifted, internally cursing the old man for his lack of propriety. Su Qingcheng was a breathtaking beauty, and he could not fathom Yun Tian's audacity. Yet he replied, Master Yun, as long as you can assist me in eliminating the Su family, you may handle Su Qingcheng as you wish. His smile was strained, his tone laced with barely concealed flattery. Yun Tian scoffed, very well, it is settled then. Fu Feng felt a chill run down his spine. He knew of Yun Tian and Appo's unpredictable temperament. Should he provoke the man's ire, the entire Fu family could find itself in dire peril. Within a lavish villa, Yun Tian greedily fixated on the photograph of Su Qingcheng on his phone, the flames of desire in his eyes impossible to disguise. Su Qingcheng, how beautiful. To be with me is your honor. I am a practitioner of qi refinement, he thought as he slipped his phone into his pocket, a sinister grin spreading across his face before he swaggered out. Following Fu Feng's guidance, he intended to head directly to Qingbei University in search of Su Qingcheng, fully prepared to abduct her. To him, mortals were but insignificant weeds, inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. Although qi refinement represented the lowest tier of cultivation, it was still beyond the reach of ordinary individuals. As Gu Yechen and Su Qiqing departed, Yun Tian appeared at Qingbei, their paths perfectly misaligned. At the Su family's conference hall, the elders were engrossed in tense deliberations regarding their response. Father, Su Qingcheng entered with Gu Yechen by her side, having rushed back in response to her family's urgent summons. Observing the serious expressions of her elders, she respectfully greeted them. Qingcheng, why have you returned? Aren't and Appos, do you supposed to be in class? Su Xiong was taken aback upon seeing his daughter, his tone softening with affection as he gestured for them to sit. I received news that the Fu family is pressing for a marriage alliance. I hurried back to ascertain the situation. Who are they proposing to marry? After taking her seat, Su Qingcheng's eyes darted anxiously among the gathered family, her beautiful gaze filled with concern. Su Xiong scrutinized the young man beside Su Qingcheng, his expression sharp. Qingcheng, who is this young man? I don't believe I've seen him before, and this is your first time bringing a boy home, isn't it? His gaze bore into Gu Yechen, as if attempting to see through him. Upon hearing Su Xiong's inquiry, the elders finally regained their composure, turning their scrutinizing gazes toward Gu Yechen. The more they observed, the more they appreciated. Gu Yechen exuded an extraordinary aura, his countenance strikingly handsome, reminiscent of a figure from a painting. They deliberated carefully. If his family background were slightly more illustrious, it would be ideal, yet even without it, the Su family possessed wealth and influence. Su Qiqing was momentarily taken aback by her father's question regarding Gu Yechen's identity, then replied, Father, this is Gu Yechen, my junior from school. I am their class advisor. Her voice was melodic and clear, akin to the song of a yellow oriole amidst the willows. And what is your relationship? Su Yu interjected, unable to contain his curiosity as he gazed at the pair. Without further ado, Gu Yechen took Su Qingcheng's delicate hand, disregarding the astonished stares of those present. At that moment, Su Qingcheng and Appo's face, neck, and ears flushed a deep crimson, her adorableness akin to a blooming flower. Su Qingcheng had not anticipated Gu Yechen's boldness in grasping her hand in front of her numerous elders. She was momentarily stunned, casting a dazed glance at him before lowering her head, unable to meet her father's or anyone else's gaze. Seeing this, Su Xiong was instantly filled with ire. While Gu Yechen was without fault, witnessing his precious daughter, shy and flustered in his presence, felt akin to watching his prized cabbage being plucked. At least he was not a dyed-haired youth, which provided a sliver of solace. Otherwise, he might have lost his temper. Our relationship is quite complex. We are currently... Su Qingqing began, but before she could finish, Gu Yechen interjected. Chapter 395. The Bold Maneuvers of Xia Yutong. We are in a romantic relationship. Qingcheng is my woman, Gu Yechen stated, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. His voice was resolute and tranquil, devoid of any trepidation. Upon hearing his words, Su Qingqing blushed deeply, her bashful demeanor evoking a sense of protectiveness in those around her. Su Xiong's chest heaved, his expression darkening. Although he held no significant grievances against Gu Yechen, the latter's arrogance was impossible to overlook. His lack of humility in front of elders tarnished Su Xiong's initially favorable impression. As Su Qingqing's father, it was imperative for Gu Yechen to obtain his consent to pursue his daughter. Yet, observing his daughter's reaction, Su Xiong felt somewhat superfluous. Young man, may I inquire about your age? Su Xiong asked, directing his gaze at Gu Yechen. Gu Yechen replied nonchalantly, his expression unchanged. 18, a diligent university student, and the top scorer in the National College entrance examination. With just a slight display of his prowess, Gu Yechen commanded a newfound respect. While top scorers were common, those who achieved perfect scores were rare indeed. The realization that his daughter was engaged in a May-December romance struck Su Xiong. Hearing Gu Yechen's age, he suddenly felt a sense of pride in his daughter. The Fu family wishes to propose marriage, intending to wed you to Fu Qing, but I have declined. Su Xiong stated gravely, his expression serious. For him, nothing surpassed the importance of his daughter's happiness, not even family interests. Me? Su Qingqing paused, recollecting Fu Qing's relentless pursuit, which led to a look of distaste on her face, conjuring up unpleasant memories. I can't believe he had the audacity to ask his elders for my hand. Who is Fu Qing? Gu Yechen inquired, a flicker of menace crossing his gaze. Seeing Gu Yechen and Appo's displeasure, Su Xiong felt a surge of satisfaction. It was only fitting that he should care when another sought to court his daughter. Fu Qing is the son of Fu Feng, the head of the Fu family. He is a notorious wastrel, indulging in debauchery and vice. However, the Fu family ranks third in Kyoto, making them quite formidable. Su Xiong spoke, his voice tinged with resignation and concern. Humph, a spoiled scion dares to covet my woman? He has sealed his own fate. Gu Yechen scoffed, his eyes glinting coldly. Young friend, do not underestimate the Fu family. Under normal circumstances, we, the Su family, would not fear them. However, they have a formidable elder, a cultivator of the sixth layer of qi condensation. Su interjected, cautioning Gu Yechen. The sixth layer of qi condensation? And what of it? Gu Yechen smirked slightly, unfazed. The crowd gasped at his words, yet most dismissed them, considering his tender age. You may not grasp the gravity of the sixth layer of qi condensation. A 10th-tier martial artist from our family was slain in an instant. They are not to be trifled with, Su Xiong cautioned. Rest assured, Uncle Su, Qingcheng is my woman. I shall handle this matter. You need not worry. I possess my own means, Gu Yechen asserted confidently. What can you possibly do? Su Xiong regarded him skeptically, his doubts stemming from Gu Yechen and Appo's youth. You will see soon enough, Gu Yechen replied with a mysterious smile. At that moment, a clan member rushed in, panic-stricken. Head of the family, it's terrible. The Fu family has launched a fierce assault on our assets. We have suffered significant losses. The atmosphere shifted dramatically as the gravity of the situation settled in. The Fu family is utterly tyrannical, Su Yu exclaimed, irate. Su Xiong furrowed his brow, lost in contemplation. Uncle Su, do not fret. I shall confront them, Gu Yechen declared. Alone? That is too perilous. Su Qingqing grasped Gu Yechen and Appo's hand. Concern etched across her features. Have faith. Do you not know my capabilities? A mere sixth-layer waste is no match for me. I shall return soon. Gu Yechen gently patted Su Qingqing's hand and kissed her forehead before turning to depart. At Qingbei University, Yin Tian arrived, searching relentlessly for Su Qingqing but to no avail. His frustration mounted. How could he accept such an outcome after coming in person? Just then, he spotted two striking young women. Their long hair cascading down their backs ignited a desire within him. Tong Tong, are you certain this is wise? Xia Yinchi asked Xia Yutong, her brow furrowed with concern. Gu Yechen was her boyfriend, yet Xia Yutong displayed no signs of anger or dissent. Rather, she seemed supportive, leaving Xia Yinchi bewildered. Not to worry, Achen has many admirers. We are not his only ones. Xia Yutong gazed into the distance, lost in thought. What? Does he have other girlfriends? Xia Yinchi was taken aback, her mind reeling from the revelation. Xia Yutong nodded, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Achun is an exceptional young man. It is my honor to be with him, and I am genuinely pleased that he chose me from among so many. Are you all right? Are you actually grateful to Gu Yechen for putting you in such a position? Xia Yinchi was flabbergasted by Xia Yutong's perspective, realizing she was caught in a romantic delusion. Ah Chun is remarkable. It is only natural that he attracts many admirers. I bear no jealousy or sorrow, and presently, I am focused on my training. With little time for anything else, Xia Yutong smiled at Xian Yinshi, continuing, I can see that Ah Chun has feelings for you. I suspect he will pursue you soon. When that time comes, do not resist, simply accept it, and we shall be sisters. Xian Yinshi felt her worldview shatter under the weight of Xia Yutong's words. Are you trying to sell me off? She pressed her forehead, bemused. Rest assured, Ah Chun is quite capable. I have tested him thoroughly. He will certainly take good care of you, Xia Yutong teased, stifling a laugh. Xian Yinshi was left speechless, her cheeks flushed. She understood the implications of Xia Yutong and Appo's words, yet found it astonishing that such sentiments could be expressed, especially by a girl. Chapter 396. Greed. Suddenly, Yun Tian appeared before the two women, and as his gaze fell upon Xia Yutong and Xian Yinshi, it instantly transformed into a fervent and covetous glare. Their stunning beauty, with curvaceous figures and delicate waists, ignited a fire within him, a wicked desire that blazed uncontrollably in his eyes. At that moment, his mind was tainted with lewd thoughts of committing unspeakable acts against them right there in the school. Xia Yutong and Xian Yinshi were momentarily taken aback by the appearance of the elderly man, confusion stirring within them. His face was unfamiliar, and they could not comprehend why such a man had suddenly obstructed their path. Instinctively, Xia Yutong reached out, pulling Xian Yinshi protectively behind her. Since advancing to the second level of qi refinement, she had sensed a dangerous aura emanating from the old man, an unsettling feeling lingering in the air. Who are you? Xia Yutong asked, her voice laced with a hint of coldness. Observing her wary demeanor, Yin Tian's lips curled into a repugnant smile. The wrinkles on his face resembled cracked earth, spreading insidiously, and his gaze swept over them like invisible hands, revealing his unmasked desire. My dear girls, you are truly exquisite. I wish for you to be my women. What do you say? His voice was raspy, yet his eyes did not reflect the demeanor of an elderly man. Upon hearing his words, Xia Yutong and Xian Yinshi were instantly enraged, a blaze of fury igniting within them. It was an utter humiliation for such a lecherous old man to approach them in broad daylight and utter such indecent propositions. His lascivious gaze and sordid appearance made it evident to anyone that his intentions were vile. This is Qingbei University. I advise you to conduct yourself appropriately, or we will have no choice but to call the police, Xia Yutong replied coldly, her tone unmistakably angry. She was the woman of Gu Yechen, and Xian Yinshi would soon be as well. Their deep affections for Gu Yechen made it impossible for them to succumb to the advances of such a repulsive individual, unless it meant their demise. Haha. To me, Qingbei University is nothing but a trivial place. It would be a mere trifle for me to take you away. Yin Tian laughed arrogantly, viewing the university as inconsequential, a place he could enter or leave at will. As he spoke, he advanced towards Xia Yutong and Xian Yinshi with an air of inevitable conquest. Who dares? A group of young men, their sense of justice ignited, hastily approached. They had witnessed the two campus beauties being harassed by the old man and rushed to their aid, seizing what they thought might be an opportunity to win favor with the renowned beauties. Brats, I advise you to mind your own business, or you shall not escape my wrath, Yun Tian warned as he sensed the presence of the young men, a murderous intent surging within him. To him, they were mere ants daring to challenge him, an act tantamount to seeking death. You come to our school to bully our female students, and you speak so brazenly? A tall young man spoke with righteous indignation, his voice powerful and commanding. To him, the old man appeared nothing more than a feeble elder, and he believed they would easily overpower him in a confrontation. However, Yun Tian dismissed them entirely. With a cold snort, he waved his hand, unleashing an invisible gust of wind that struck the group, sending them sprawling to the ground. It was evident that he had no intention of killing them. He merely sought to incapacitate them temporarily, leaving them writhing in pain. Cough, cough. The young man who had spoken earlier was taken aback, fear flooding his heart. He had never anticipated that his attempt to be a hero would lead to such dire consequences. Had he known the old man was so formidable, he would never have intervened. All three men lay on the ground, bloodied and terrified, gazing up at Yun Tian in horror. They had initially envisioned impressing the two beauties, hoping to win their affection, perhaps even share a romantic encounter. Yet, here they were, suffering grievously. Tell me where Su Qingqing is, and perhaps I will spare you. Yun Tian threatened, his tone laced with menace, his eyes conveying a clear message. Refusal would lead to their demise. We Don and Appo's, Tino. We are complete strangers to her. We merely wanted to show off in front of the beauties, to see if we could win their favor. One of the men whimpered, his voice trembling with fear. Yun Tian paid them little mind. His primary concern was locating Su Qingqing and capturing the two breathtaking women before him. My dear girls, do you happen to know Su Qingqing? Yun Tian turned his gaze towards Xia Yutong and Xian Yinshi, his tone oppressive, as if a heavy stone rested upon their hearts. What business do you have with Su Qingqing? Xia Yutong queried cautiously, sensing that the elderly man harbored ulterior motives and seeking to discern his true intentions. It seems you are acquainted with her, Yin Tian and Apos. S eyes glimmered with excitement, finally having obtained a lead on Su Qingqing. It's nothing of great consequence. Merely a desire to bed her. I have heard she is exceptionally beautiful, and I intend to have her, along with you too. Yun Tian and Apos. S grin was sinister, the look in his eyes igniting a desire for retribution. Do you comprehend the consequences of injuring students within Qingbei? Xia Yutong maintained her composure, her gaze icy as she scrutinized Yun Tian, her expression betraying no emotion. Yet internally, she was far from tranquil, sensing that the old man was also a practitioner of cultivation and possessed greater strength than her own. Consequences? Yun Tian suddenly erupted into a maniacal laugh, a chilling sound that sent shivers down one and Apos' spine. He then fixed his cold gaze on Xia Yutong, his eyes sharp and piercing. Within this institution, no one can touch me. Even if I were to defile you both here and now, no one would dare to hold me accountable. His voice dripped with lasciviousness, and such words were not mere bravado. As a practitioner of qi refinement, he had not encountered another cultivator in many years, leading him to believe he was invincible. Chapter 397. Gu Yechen takes action. Hovering above the clouds on his sword, Gu Yechen observed the unfolding events below with a sense of bewilderment. Could it be that they were truly so audacious? He found it incomprehensible what could compel the elder to utter such words, especially in the presence of those at Qingbei University, and to covet Gu Yechen's woman no less. As he watched Yin Tian advance towards Xia Yutong and unleash his palm strike, a frown creased Gu Yechen and Apos' brow, a flicker of coldness flashing in his eyes. He could not allow his beloved to come to harm. Just as he prepared to intervene, a surge of power erupted from Xia Yutong. Gu Yechen halted his movement, recognizing that even if she could not withstand Yun Tian's attack, the consequences would not be dire. To his astonishment, Xia Yutong raised her hand to block Yun Tian and Apos' strike, a formidable force of spiritual energy emanating from her palm to counter his assault. However, Yun Tian's strength far exceeded hers, and she was forced to retreat 6 or 7 steps before finally regaining her footing, her arm trembling and her palm slightly reddened. It was evident that the blow had taken a significant toll on her, one she could not easily withstand. Indeed, Gu Yechen felt a sense of relief seeing Xia Yutong manage to fend off an attack from a 6th-level qi refining cultivator. Yin Tian was taken aback to see Xia Yutong withstand 30% of his power. His gaze darkened further, as he sensed her extraordinary nature. He hadn't anticipated that she could absorb even a fraction of his might. It seemed she was no ordinary person. But you shall not have a favorable outcome. Xia Yutong steadied her turbulent spiritual energy, her breath slightly erratic. Yet her gaze remained resolute as she faced Yun Tian without fear. That is of little consequence. As long as I can have you. Yun Tian's laughter dripped with lewdness. With that, he charged at Xia Yutong once more, swiftly closing the distance. Onlookers witnessed the scene unfold. More students gathering, yet few dared to intervene. They understood that this was beyond their capacity to mediate, left only to watch helplessly from afar as the confrontation escalated. You thought you could escape unscathed after letting you off the hook once? You dare to covet my woman? A sudden voice boomed across the empty playground, resonating with fury. Yun Tian immediately grew wary, his eyes fierce, poised for a counterstrike. He sensed that the newcomer was not to be trifled with, a shiver of trepidation coursing through him. Upon hearing that voice, Xia Yutong and Apos' brows arched with delight, a gentle smile gracing her lips. She was all too familiar with it. It belonged to Gu Yechen. She knew he had arrived, and that she and Xian Yinshi were safe. In an instant, Gu Yechen appeared before the two women, instilling a profound sense of security in them, especially for Xian Yinshi, who had been genuinely frightened, prepared to face death rather than capitulate. Gu Yechen's timely arrival was like that of a hero. Are you all right? Gu Yechen gently stroked Xia Yutong's head, his tenderness stirring her heart. Who wouldn't he wish for their partner to arrive in times of peril, offering warmth and protection? Clearly, Gu Yechen had fulfilled that role. I'm fine. But what brings you here? Xia Yutong asked, her eyes sparkling with joy, her smile radiant like a blossoming flower. I came to see you both, but I didn't expect to encounter scum who dares to covet my woman. He has sealed his own fate, Gu Yechen declared, a glint of murder flashing in his eyes as he affectionately ruffled Xian Yinshi's hair. At that moment, Xian Yinshi found herself at a loss, her heart racing from Gu Yechen's touch. In this moment of peril, his presence was like a beacon in the dark, illuminating her world. Feeling Gu Yechen and Apos' caress, she raised her head to meet his gaze, and for a fleeting moment, time seemed to stand still. Standing aside, Xia Yutong felt her heart race with excitement, silently urging, kiss her, kiss her. She yearned to witness this romantic moment, hoping Xian Yinshi could sense Gu Yechen's affection. However, Gu Yechen merely kissed Xian Yinshi on the forehead and gently enveloped her in his embrace, whispering softly in her ear, don't be afraid, I am here. Those simple words felt like a powerful incantation, planting a seed of courage in Xian Yinshi's heart. Gu Yechen slowly turned, his gaze now laden with pressure as he fixed his eyes on Yuntian, the murderous intent emanating from him palpable and overwhelming. You old fool. Daring to lay hands on my woman in my presence is tantamount to courting death. Gu Yechen's voice was frosty, tinged with authority. Yuntian's heart trembled. He could sense the formidable aura radiating from this young man, an unprecedented pressure that unnerved him. Yet, confident in his 6th-level qi refining prowess, he was unwilling to back down. Humph, and who might you be? Don't think you can save them, Yuntian sneered, dismissing Gu Yechen. He believed he was unmatched in this world, with few capable of defeating him in a fair fight. Who I am is irrelevant. What matters is that you will not leave here today, Gu Yechen declared, advancing step by step towards Yuntian. Each step seemed to compress the air around him, producing a sound akin to shattering glass. Seeing this, Yuntian ceased hesitating, swiftly forming seals with his hands. A surge of powerful spiritual energy erupted from within him, transforming into blades of energy aimed at Gu Yechen. Gu Yechen smirked, his lips curling in disdain. With a casual gesture, he raised his hand. A golden light emanating from his palm that effortlessly deflected the energy blades. The sound of shattering filled the air as the energy blades disintegrated into specks of light, dissipating into the atmosphere. Is that all you can do? Gu Yechen taunted. Then, in a flash, he appeared before Yuntian. Yuntian and Apos' heart raced in shock. He had not anticipated that Gu Yechen could so easily thwart his attack. He hastily gathered his spiritual energy, forming a barrier before him in a desperate attempt to block Gu Yechen's strike. Yet, Gu Yechen shattered Yuntian's barrier in an instant, delivering a powerful punch that pierced through Yuntian's chest. He was sent flying backward, crashing heavily to the ground. Coughing up blood, Yuntian struggled to rise, only to find himself immobilized by an unseen force, unable to move. Who are you? Yuntian gasped, his breath labored, regarding Gu Yechen with a mix of fear and disbelief. He was utterly humiliated, unable to fathom how he had been bested by a mere youth. I told you, you need not concern yourself with my identity. Merely know that for bullying my woman, you shall pay the price, Gu Yechen replied coldly. With a flick of his wrist, Yuntian was reduced to a mist of blood, carried away by the wind, leaving only his head, which Gu Yechen retained. Chapter 398. You will not lose. In the midst of the scene, everyone was struck by terror. A life, just like that, extinguished? Gu Yechen merely waved his hand, and a perfectly healthy individual was reduced to a mere cloud of crimson mist, leaving behind nothing but a trace of hair. Some were even inclined to pull out their phones to report the incident, for a life had been claimed. Yet, upon recalling Gu Yechen's earlier display of power, they hesitated, paralyzed by the fear of vanishing without a trace, much like the unfortunate soul before them. Once the deed was done, Gu Yechen approached Xia Yutong and her companion with a gentle smile, inquiring, I hope I did not frighten you. Both shook their heads. Xia Yutong and Apos' eyes sparkled with admiration as she gazed at Gu Yechen, her expression radiating pure adoration. In contrast, Xia Yanqi was somewhat more reserved. Yet her beautiful eyes were also fixed on Gu Yechen, imbued with a hint of tenderness. You truly are my great hero, Xia Yutong exclaimed, embracing Gu Yechen before planting a kiss on his cheek. Many male onlookers gritted their teeth in envy, their hearts aching at the sight. To have a campus goddess display such boldness was a fortune they all wished to experience. Blushing, Xia Yutong released Gu Yechen and pulled Xia Yanqi closer. Turning to him with an air of happiness, promise you won't bully Xiaoxi. Gu Yechen paused, his heart filled with confusion. Is Xia Yutong truly this formidable? Her actions left both Xia Yanqi and Gu Yechen momentarily speechless. While Gu Yechen was indifferent, Xia Yanqi's cheeks flushed a deep crimson. She glanced up at Gu Yechen, then lowered her head shyly, grasping Xia Yutong and Apos' hand, uncertain of what to do. Do not fear, Aiken is very kind. You will come to know this in time. Xia Yutong reassured, her words sweetly comforting. Gu Yechen extended his hand, gently pulling Xia Yanqi closer, allowing her to lean against him, whispering softly, trust me. Xia Yanqi looked up into Gu Yechen's eyes, her heart fluttering with emotions she could not deny. Am I truly meant to be with him? Surrounded by so many. Yet this feeling is unprecedented. Her mind was a tempest of confusion, but leaning against Gu Yechen felt utterly divine. She closed her eyes, saying nothing, simply resting her head against him. Seeing this, Xia Yutong felt a wave of joy, for it signified that Xia Yanqi had taken a significant step forward. Only the final leap remained. Xiaodong, I have matters to attend to. Please guide Xiaoxi in her training. Starting with the basics, Gu Yechen instructed Xia Yutong gently. She nodded, aware of his busy schedule, and was more than willing to alleviate his burdens, especially since she too needed to train. Rest assured, I will take care of it. Before you leave, will you not indulge in a meal with Xiaoxi? Xia Yutong teased, her heart soaring with delight. She wished for Xia Yanqi to experience this wondrous feeling. It was truly enchanting. Upon hearing Xia Yutong and Apos' words, Xia Yanqi and Apos' face turned beet red. Though she had never experienced such things, she could sense the underlying implication, and a wave of anxiety washed over her. Is he truly going to make a move on me now? Should I consent? Or should I maintain some reserve? A terrifying thought crossed her mind. Should I simply pounce on Gu Yechen and take charge? The mere notion startled her, prompting her to quickly dismiss it from her mind. Gu Yechen shook his head, stating, "Let us discuss this when I have ample time." He did not wish to leave immediately after their union. That would be irresponsible. He wished to spend at least half a day, if not a few hours, with her. However, pressing matters awaited him, and he could not linger. Cradling Xian Yinxi's face, he smiled. "Some things, Xiaodong will explain to you. I must take my leave now. Until we meet again." Xian Yinxi returned his smile, seemingly resolved. "You go ahead. Your tasks are important, Xiaodong, and I will await your return." Gu Yechen embraced her once more, saying, "Thank you. You will see that your choice is the right one." With that, he kissed her soft lips. Xian Yinxi's eyes widened in shock, momentarily frozen, unsure of how to react as she was kissed in front of so many. Her cheeks flushed crimson, yet she instinctively responded, albeit somewhat awkwardly. Having crossed this threshold, she decided to embrace the moment. Although being with Gu Yechen appeared disadvantageous for her, his striking looks and talents made it worthwhile. Gu Yechen deepened the kiss for 2.5 minutes, releasing her only when she gasped for breath. Her cheeks aglow like a sunset. "This is my first gamble with myself. I hope you do not let me down." Nestled in Gu Yechen and Apos' embrace, Xian Yinxi's heart began to settle. This was a daring venture, and the outcome remained uncertain. "Do not worry. You shall not lose, for I am here," Gu Yechen assured, stroking her hair gently. Xian Yinxi nodded, leaning in to plant a kiss on Gu Yechen's cheek before turning to Xia Yutong. She found Xia Yutong beaming at her, a sight that stirred a sense of worry within Xian Yinxi. What will she think of my relationship with her boyfriend, my roommate, and best friend? From now on, we shall be like sisters, Xia Yutong said affectionately, linking her arm with Xian Yinxi's wrist, her smile radiant. She was genuinely happy, for this allowed her to focus on her training while leaving the matters of intimacy with Gu Yechen to Xian Yinxi. Lost in this thought, Xia Yutong chuckled to herself, murmuring, "I truly am a genius." Gu Yechen playfully tapped her on the head, exasperated, dreaming while smiling like a fool. Xian Yinxi's earlier trepidation dissipated, replaced by a sense of being drawn into a delightful predicament. Xia Yutong pouted, feigning annoyance. "What will you do if you knock me silly?" Her lips formed a cute pout, which made Gu Yechen unable to resist planting a quick kiss upon them. Xia Yutong was left utterly stunned, only coming to her senses 2.5 minutes later. "What was that for? Is my xiaoxi not enough for you? Must you ambush me too? What's wrong? Are you unwilling?" Gu Yechen teased, ruffling her hair with a chuckle. Xia Yutong and Apos' cheeks reddened. "Just Don and Apos' kiss me in front of so many people next time." Her tone was slightly haughty. Gu Yechen shook his head, amused. "I must take my leave now. Ensure Xiaoxi trains well." With that, he produced 9 physique-enhancing pills, handing them to Xia Yutong. "What is this? Physique pills?" Xia Yutong questioned, perplexed as she opened the vial to inspect its contents. Gu Yechen nodded, explaining, "These will enhance physical strength. There are 9 in total. Each of you may take 3, and the remainder should be given to Senior Xiaoran." Chapter 399. Fu Qing's Foolish Notion. Senior Xiaoran? Xia Yutong was momentarily taken aback, a flicker of confusion crossing her delicate features before enlightenment dawned, illuminating her face with an expression of realization. "You actually brought the senior into this." A playful smile danced on her lips, laced with an intriguing undertone. Ahem. Gu Yechen cleared his throat softly, instinctively touching the tip of his nose, a hint of embarrassment coloring his cheeks. He had never anticipated that all his female companions from Qingbei would converge in this manner. "Well, I genuinely care for the seniors. There's no favoritism here," Gu Yechen remarked, a faint smile gracing his lips. Having grown accustomed to Gu Yechen's seemingly audacious declarations, Xia Yutong merely shrugged, for she truly understood his character. Meanwhile, Xian Yinxi stood rooted in shock, as if she had just heard something utterly unbelievable. "Yechen, may I inquire how many girlfriends you have?" Unable to contain her curiosity, Xian Yinxi blurted out, her mind racing with the implications of what she already knew. If there were more she was unaware of, what would that mean for her place in his affections? Gu Yechen turned his gaze towards Xian Yinxi, his eyes warm and sincere. He had no intention of concealing the truth, merely stating with a gentle smile, "Around a dozen, but my feelings for all of you are sincere. This little Tong understands that well." His voice was calm, yet the affection in his eyes spoke volumes. Upon hearing this revelation, Xian Yinxi felt as though she had been struck by a bolt of lightning, instinctively taking a step back, enveloped in a wave of disillusionment. Her face betraying utter disbelief and a hint of confusion. A tumult of emotions surged within her. The boy she had just developed feelings for had numerous girlfriends. Where did she stand in his heart? What's wrong? Gu Yechen observed her retreat with a flicker of concern. Recalling the lyrics, "Are you serious?" Drawing in a deep breath, Xian Yinxi's gaze at Gu Yechen became fraught with complexity, shock intertwined with a touch of resignation. Unable to hold back, she spoke, her tone laced with incredulity. "Are you some sort of Casanova?" In her understanding, Such behavior of having numerous girlfriends seemed exclusive to a Casanova or a scoundrel, and clearly, Gu Yechen did not fit the latter. Gu Yechen chuckled at her words, thinking, who could be a Casanova like him? He believed his essence differed fundamentally from those so-called Casanovas. Ask Xiao Tong. See if she perceives me as one. He tossed the question to Xia Yutong, feeling it unnecessary to respond himself. Xia Yutong flashed a sweet smile at Gu Yechen, her eyes brimming with warmth. You truly know how to charm. She then turned to Xia Ningxi, speaking earnestly. Chun is certainly no Casanova. There must be something extraordinary about him to attract so many. A playful glint sparkled in her eyes as she lowered her voice, just audible to the three, for instance. Chun's character is impeccable, and importantly, he is quite handsome. But there is one more critical aspect. His prowess in certain matters is exceptional. It lasts at least 3 hours each time. Gu Yechen was taken aback by Xia Yutong's candidness, never expecting such words to escape her lips, which greatly exceeded her usual demeanor. Was she truly letting loose today? Meanwhile, Xia Ningxi's face flushed crimson upon hearing Xia Yutong's implication, fully grasping what was meant by 3 hours. As a girl, she could hardly fathom Xia Yutong's audacity to speak so bluntly about such topics, maintaining a composed facade. A surge of warmth flooded her cheeks, wishing for nothing more than to disappear into the ground. After Xia Yutong concluded, she lowered her head slightly, her cheeks still aglow. Stealing a glance at Gu Yechen, she found herself puzzled at her own transformation. Tong Tong, if you keep speaking like that, I might just ignore you. Xia Ningxi managed to retort, her shyness evident. Be good, don't mind her. Tong Tong has completely let go, Gu Yechen said, affectionately ruffling Xia Ningxi's hair, chuckling softly. Xia Yutong shot Gu Yechen a playful glare, but her expression quickly softened back to one of innocence, her eyes curving into a smile, her ponytail swaying gracefully as she beamed with youthful exuberance. You go ahead and be busy. I'll take good care of your little she. By the next time we meet, she'll definitely be at least at the first level of chi refinement. She looked at Gu Yechen with unwavering confidence. Gu Yechen gazed at the two exquisite beauties before him, a profound affection swelling within his heart. Should you need anything, seek out academician Lin Hua in the lab. Just mention that you are my women, and it will suffice. You can also call me, and I will come immediately. With that, he opened his arms, embracing both of them and placing a gentle kiss on their foreheads. Then, with a thought, he soared into the air, vanishing in an instant. At the Fu estate, Fu Qing sat on the plush sofa, his expression dark as thunder. The news of Yuntian planning to bed Su Qingsheng incited a furious rage within him. In his heart, if Su Qingsheng's virginity was not his to claim, it bore no special significance. Father, must it be this way? I believe I could have Su Qingsheng first, after I take her innocence. I could then relinquish her to Master Yun. What do you think? Fu Qing raised his head, looking expectantly at his father, hoping for his support. However, upon hearing this, Fu Feng's anger flared, and he struck Fu Qing sharply on the back of the head. His face was contorted with fury, his eyes glaring at Fu Qing in disbelief. How could you be so foolish? To contend with Yuntian for a woman? This is utterly outrageous. Unfilial son. Fu Feng trembled with rage, striving to calm himself. Do you have any idea what consequences your rivalry with Master Yuntian would bring upon our family? It shouldn't be that severe, right? It's just a woman. I genuinely wish to take Su Qingsheng's innocence, Fu Qing dismissed, shaking his head, viewing it as a trivial matter. How could I have birthed such a simple-minded fool like you? Master Yun's power is formidable. Annihilating our family would be effortless for him. Are you truly willing to jeopardize our entire family for the sake of one woman? Fu Feng's anger boiled over at Fu Qing's nonchalance. He feared that one day this ungrateful son would be the death of him. Chapter 400. Fu Qing's visit. Fu Qing lowered his head reluctantly and said, I understand, father. Yet, deep down, he felt a profound sense of discontent. Su Qingsheng was an exceptionally rare beauty, and the thought of her first time being taken by an old man rather than himself ignited within him a desire to eliminate Yuntian. As soon as this thought crossed his mind, he dismissed it immediately. He was acutely aware of Yuntian's formidable strength. A 10th-tier warrior from the Su family could be effortlessly defeated by him, and facing such a person, the Fu family would be utterly powerless. Upon hearing Fu Qing's response, Fu Feng finally breathed a sigh of relief. He then spoke slowly, there is no other way. If we were stronger, we would not be in this predicament. Therefore, do not dwell too much on Su Qingsheng. In the future, you will encounter individuals far more exceptional than her. Fu Qing looked at his father in disbelief. Did his father truly regard him as a lovesick fool? Father, please do not perceive me as one consumed by romance. I merely cannot tolerate her aloof demeanor and wish to conquer her, so she would come to me like a loyal dog. In Fu Qing and Appo's eyes, the numerous rejections from Su Qingsheng warranted a way to ensure her downfall. It is good that you think this way. The Su family's disdain for our Fu family's proposal will exact a price from them. Fu Feng's expression darkened. This was a matter of pride for the Fu family. Father, engaging in a business battle with the Su family would likely cost us at least 70%. Fu Qing was taken aback by his father's words. Who said I would engage in a business battle? Fu Feng revealed a cunning smile. Fu Qing looked puzzled. Could there be another way? Do not say I have not given you a chance. Before Master Yin finds Su Qingcheng, you have this opportunity. Our family possesses 2 10th-tier warriors. You may take one with you. Fu Feng recalled the look in his son's eyes and hesitated to speak. Upon hearing this, Fu Qing's eyes lit up, and he immediately broke into a smile. Father, I knew you would not refuse. With that, he hurriedly grabbed the car keys and dashed out. Bring someone to ensure his safety. Do not let him come to harm, Fu Feng instructed, turning to a burly bodyguard, his expression grave. Yes, master. The bodyguard followed Fu Qing as he departed. At the Su residence, Su Qingcheng sat anxiously in her chair, while she trusted Gu Yechen. A sense of worry lingered in her heart. What is happening to me? Su Qingcheng thought in astonishment. Had she begun to worry for Gu Yechen? Su Xiong, seated at the head of the table, noticed his daughter's distracted demeanor and felt a pang of distress. Was the prized cabbage he had nurtured going to be lost? Qingcheng, what are you thinking? Su Xiong could no longer contain himself and asked. He found it intolerable to see his daughter in such a daze, resembling a newlywed wife eagerly awaiting her husband's return. Startled by her father's sudden inquiry, Su Qingcheng's heart raced, and a hint of guilt crossed her face. Nothing. Just wondering how Chen is doing. After a brief hesitation, she ultimately chose honesty. In an instant, Su Xiong's expression morphed into one of disgust, as if he had swallowed something foul. His eyes widened as he gazed at his daughter, filled with helplessness and anger. Did he not say he was fine? Why do you concern yourself with him? Su Xiong complained. Dad, how can you say that? Chen is my boyfriend. You should respect him, Su Qingcheng pouted. Su Xiong and Appo's eyes bulged as he pointed at himself, his voice rising uncontrollably. You say I do not respect him? When has he ever shown me respect? I am your father. I am a senior. Su Qingcheng seemed to recall something, glancing at her father with a hint of embarrassment. Dad, Chen is not ill-mannered. He is very kind to others. She approached her father and smiled sweetly. Humph. Su Xiong glared at his daughter's ingratiating demeanor, feeling a mix of anger and helplessness. After all, she was his daughter. When he noticed Su Xiong's expression softening, Su Qingcheng smiled and returned to her seat. Just as she settled down, a voice she found utterly distasteful rang out. Uncle Su, I have come to propose. Outside, Fu Qing entered the conference hall, accompanied by a dozen warriors, including a 10th-tier warrior. His gaze swept across the assembly before settling on Su Qingcheng, a smile creeping onto his face, his eyes gleaming with an aggressive intensity. Seeing the visitor, Su Xiong's expression darkened. If he had to choose between Fu Qing and Gu Yechen, he would undoubtedly pick Gu Yechen, who was at least handsome and favored by his daughter. What brings you here? Su Qingcheng frowned, visibly displeased. What do you think? I am here to propose. Fu Qing leered at Su Qingcheng, his gaze unabashedly fervent. I have already stated that you are unworthy of my daughter. Do not humiliate yourself further, Su Xiong said, suppressing his anger as he glared at Fu Qing. He had not anticipated Fu Qing would come to their doorstep. In the past, he would have felt unafraid. But with their family's only 10th-tier warrior slain, their strongest now only ranked at 9th tier, they were no match for the man behind Fu Qing. Huh? You believe you can speak to me in such a manner? The Su family is no longer a match for the Fu family. Do you think you have any choice beyond marrying Su Qingcheng to me? Fu Qing and Appo's tone dripped with arrogance. You need not worry about that. If you wish to consume our Su family's assets, there will be a cost. Su Xiong was resolute, prepared to give his all in the confrontation, even if it meant enduring losses to ensure Fu Qing faced severe consequences. Who says we must engage in a business battle? Fu Qing shook his head, smiling. Do you think your father's life is worth you marrying me? He directed a threatening gaze at Su Qingcheng. You need not speak such words. I am not easily intimidated. Should you dare lay a hand on me, the Fu family will not find peace, Su Xiong retorted coldly, having long prepared, with 2 9th-tier warriors lurking in the shadows, ready to unleash their fury upon Fu Qing's men if any harm befell them. Are you referring to them? Fu Qing clapped his hands, and a figure emerged from outside, dragging 2 individuals and unceremoniously tossing them onto the ground. Your preparations are quite lacking. Fu Qing chuckled, his gaze on Su Qingcheng growing ever more fervent. Chapter 401. A slap turns to flesh pulp upon witnessing the scene before him. Su Xiong's expression darkened considerably. The 2 individuals standing before him were precisely those he had dispatched, and he had not anticipated their capture to occur so swiftly. Master, we are deeply sorry. The 2 lowered their heads upon meeting Su Xiong's gaze. His countenance remained grim as he addressed them. It is of no consequence. You did your best. To Su Xiong and Appo's astonishment, Fu Qing erupted into laughter, exclaiming, Ha! Uncle Su, you appear unaware, do you not? These 2 were not captured by us. Rather, they came seeking us. The eyes of Su Xiong and the other members of the Su family widened in disbelief. You 2 have betrayed us? A surge of fury ignited within Su Xiong. He could tolerate their capture, Yet he could never accept that they had sold out their own, betraying the Su family. Master, we had no choice. The Su family cannot possibly survive, for the Fu family possesses a practitioner. We chose a path that suited us, they spoke in unison, further fueling Su Xiong's ire. You are aware of the consequences of betraying the Su family. I hope you proceed with caution. Su glared at them, his face a mask of fury. Fear not. If Su Qingcheng refuses to marry me, by the end of today, there will be no Su family left. Fu Qing replied coolly, his tone calm, yet the implications of his words were clear. Do not think this will compel the Su family to capitulate. As soon as Su Xiong's words fell, dozens of martial artists appeared before the Su family, their gazes fixated on the few individuals ahead. Do you believe they stand a chance against 10th-tier martial artists? Fu Qing asked, grinning, a hint of disdain flickering across his face. Su Xiong was acutely aware of the disparity, yet at this juncture, he had no choice but to take a gamble. However, after a mere exchange, all the Su family bodyguards collapsed to the ground, blood spewing from their mouths. Furthermore, Su Xiong himself was seized by the opposing martial artists. Witnessing this, Su Qingqing felt a surge of panic. Fu Qing, what are your intentions? Are you not afraid of retaliation from the Su family? I desire you. Should you agree to marry me, all shall proceed without incident. The current Su family is no match for us, Fu Qing said with a smile, his gaze lingering on Su Qingqing and Apos' figure, thoughts already wandering to unspeakable matters. Su Xiong, observing the scene, turned to his daughter and uttered, if you dare to agree, I will end my life before your eyes. At these words, Fu Qing and Apos' fury ignited. He had just noticed Su Qingqing contemplating the proposal, and this declaration caused her to abandon the thought entirely. Beat him first, Fu Qing commanded. At that moment, a figure appeared in the conference hall and swiftly rescued Su Xiong. You possess quite the audacity to threaten my woman. Gu Yechen regarded Fu Qing with a glint of murderous intent in his eyes. Who are you to oppose me? Do you not fear the Fu family and Apos' wrath? Fu Qing's expression darkened, the victory he had anticipated slipping through his fingers. Yechen. Upon recognizing the newcomer, Su Qingqing cried out, her voice almost cracking. Gu Yechen rushed forward, enveloping her in his embrace. What troubles you? Do not weep. Seeing Su Qingqing shed tears, Gu Yechen contemplated how best to eliminate the Fu family. I feared you were in peril. Su Qingqing's eyes were red, her face reflecting distress. Do not fear. No one in this world can kill me, Gu Yechen reassured her, placing a gentle kiss upon her forehead. Arrogant. You wretched couple dare to behave so brazenly before me. Fu Qing shouted in anger, gesturing for a group of martial artists to advance. Gu Yechen produced the severed head of Yun Tian for Fu Qing to behold. With a single glance, Fu Qing's face drained of color, and he collapsed onto the ground, his mind racing with despair. It's over, it's over. Do you recognize this? Gu Yechen smiled at Fu Qing. Fu Qing trembled uncontrollably, fully aware of Yun Tian's formidable power. Yet now, his head lay in Gu Yechen's grasp, indicating Gu Yechen's superiority. The last man to threaten my woman is likely 6 feet under by now, Gu Yechen shrugged, his tone nonchalant. Arrogant. A 10th-tier martial artist behind Fu Qing scoffed, unable to fathom Gu Yechen's capabilities due to his youth. Moreover, he was unfamiliar with Yun Tian, thus oblivious to the gravity of the situation. Upon hearing someone speak, Fu Qing was suddenly gripped by fear, a warm sensation spreading through his pants. What are you barking about? Gu Yechen thought, bemused by the audacity of the insult. Insulting you? I would rather slap you. Gu Yechen declared, extending his hand and, enveloped in spiritual energy, struck the martial artist's face, sending him careening away, lifeless. I thought you were formidable. Turns out you were merely a lightweight. Gu Yechen shook his head, feeling as though he was wasting his time. Are you unharmed? Gu Yechen inquired of Su Qingqing, his gaze tender and filled with profound affection, wishing to cherish her at once. I am well, thanks to you. Su Qingcheng leaned in to plant a kiss on Gu Yechen and Apos' cheek, a gesture of gratitude. Thank you, my friend. Su Xiong, having witnessed Gu Yechen and Apos' prowess, dared not utter another word, fearing Gu Yechen and Apos' wrath may extend to them as well. It is nothing. I too wish to spare Qingqing grief. Gu Yechen waved his hand dismissively. For him, the well-being of his beloved was paramount. Su Xiong was now utterly satisfied with Gu Yechen, his earlier demeanor completely transformed. Any final words? Gu Yechen inquired of Fu Qing, a faint smile gracing his lips, his expression otherwise inscrutable. You scoundrel, may you suffer a most wretched fate. Fu Qing spat in rage, then added, was it not me who begged for mercy just moments ago? To hell with you. Gu Yechen swiftly struck Fu Qing, reducing him to mere flesh pulp. The members of the Su family gasped in shock at the sight. Could this truly be permissible? Ah Chen, you have taken a life? Su Qingcheng looked at him anxiously, her heart heavy with worry, fearing repercussions from such an act. It matters not. Their demise is of no consequence. If the Fu family seeks to play, I shall oblige. Gu Yechen's lips curled into a smirk. My friend, do not act impulsively. It is unwise to entangle yourself for their sake. Su Xiong cautioned. Gu Yechen retrieved several vials and handed them to Su Qingqing. These contain constitution elixirs. Give them to your father and the others. Turning to Su Xiong, he displayed what he believed to be a gentle smile. Do not worry, my esteemed father-in-law. I shall eradicate the Fu family entirely. Yet to the others, he appeared as a harbinger of doom. Chapter 402. Let the Fu family go to their deaths. Upon hearing Gu Yechen repeatedly refer to him as father-in-law, Su Xiong's expression darkened instantly. However, he refrained from speaking, recognizing the formidable power Gu Yechen possessed. Su Qingqing gazed at Gu Yechen with concern. She understood that taking a life would invariably lead to trouble. Should Gu Yechen face consequences because of this, she would never forgive herself. Ah Chun, please don and amp. Appos. Tigo, Su Qingqing implored, grasping Gu Yechen and amp. Appos. S hand and shaking her head gently. Rest assured, no one in this world can harm me. If the Fu family dares to lay a hand on you, I will ensure they suffer, Gu Yechen replied, placing a tender kiss on her forehead and embracing her. Wait for me. With a heart full of longing, Su Qingqing nodded, knowing she could only trust her man. Gu Yechen turned and vanished from sight. Dad, could you send someone to assist Ah Chen? Su Qingqing looked at her father, anxiety etched on her face, hoping he would take action. Do not worry. Even Yun Tian fell at Gu Yechen's hands. The Fu family is no match for him. If we intervene, it may only cause him to hesitate. Su Xiong reassured her with a smile. To him, Yun Tian was the Fu family's strongest warrior, and with his demise, there was little reason for concern. Su Qingqing nodded, her hands clenched tightly. At the Fu residence, Fu Feng felt an inexplicable sense of unease. Where do you think Qing Er and the others have gone? Fu Feng inquired of another 10th-tier martial artist behind him. Young master is likely seeking to uncover Miss Su's whereabouts to achieve his aims, the martial artist replied. Fu Feng agreed, but could not shake off the feeling of discomfort. Could something have gone awry? It seemed improbable with a 10th-tier warrior present. Yet, his unease persisted. He picked up his phone and called Fu Qing. But the line was dead, deepening his anxiety. Those worthless wretches of the Fu family, why aren't you hastening to meet my wrath? Just then, Gu Yechen's voice echoed from outside, startling everyone within. They had not anticipated such audacity in the Fu residence. Who are you? Fu Feng glared at the young man entering the living room, his anger palpable. How could a stranger enter their home without any reaction from the guards? I am Gu Yechen, here to invite the Fu family to their demise. Gu Yechen smiled, producing Yun Tian's severed head and tossing it onto the floor, where it rolled to face Fu Feng. Yun master? Fu Feng gasped, realizing the gravity of the situation. Yun Tian was a powerful practitioner, and now he lay defeated before him, indicating that this young man was even stronger. Mr. Gu, may I inquire your intentions? Surely, there is no enmity between us. Fu Feng maintained a facade of respect despite his turmoil. Gu Yechen chuckled. Su Qingqing is my woman. Do you believe there is no animosity between us? Fu Feng and Appos, S heart raced at this revelation. If Gu Yechen was indeed Su Qingqing and Appos, S partner, then there was a clear conflict. This must be a misunderstanding. Our grievances with the Su family are mere trifles, small skirmishes, he quickly asserted. Gu Yechen and Appos, S anger ignited. Does that include your son threatening my girlfriend at the Su residence? Had I not arrived in time, I shudder to think what might have transpired. Considering the highest-ranked warrior of the Su family is merely of the 9th tier and cannot contend with the fighters your son brought. What? Fu Feng exclaimed, shocked. His son had gone to threaten Su Qingqing and had been captured by this formidable figure? Mr. Gu, I must ask about my son. Dead. Gu Yechen replied nonchalantly. The weight of Gu Yechen's words struck Fu Feng like a blow. Anger surged within him as he locked eyes with Gu Yechen. Did you kill him? Gu Yechen regarded Fu Feng with interest, eager to see his response. Indeed, he coveted my woman and dared to threaten Qingqing with marriage. His existence was a waste of air. Fu Feng inhaled deeply, attempting to maintain composure. Are you not afraid of legal repercussions? Taking a life carries consequences, and you, too, shall perish. Gu Yechen scoffed. The law meant nothing to him. Do you believe I fear such trivialities? My presence here signifies that I am beyond its reach. Ha ha. Gu Yechen, you have slain my son. This is a vendetta. Today, either you perish or I shall. Fu Feng's face darkened as he signaled for his guards, who promptly surrounded Gu Yechen, ready for confrontation. Is this your backup? If so, I suggest you take your own life as an apology. Gu Yechen shook his head, fully confident in his superiority over them. Who will emerge victorious remains to be seen. Are you frightened? Fu Feng sneered, convinced Gu Yechen was intimidated. Gu Yechen and Appos, S eyes widened in disbelief. How could Fu Feng misinterpret his confidence as fear? To surprise him, Gu Yechen unleashed a bolt of lightning, instantly slaying 6 or 7 guards. How do you feel now? Gu Yechen smiled, his demeanor refreshingly calm. Why, you are a monster. Fu Feng staggered back, staring at Gu Yechen as if he were a specter. Who among the living could conjure lightning? Why do you say that? Of course, I am human, Gu Yechen replied, bemused. Was it so remarkable to wield lightning? Mr. Gu, I believe we can still negotiate, Fu Feng said, suppressing his agitation. Realizing that discussion might be their only avenue left. What terms do you propose? Gu Yechen asked with genuine curiosity. I could offer you half of the Fu family's business in exchange for our lives. What do you think? Fu Feng spoke through gritted teeth, knowing the sacrifice was monumental. As their family fortune had been built over generations, Gu Yechen raised an eyebrow. Do you think I'm in need of such trifles? Ultimately, if I were to eliminate you all, your wealth would become mine. I have no desire for these material possessions. Then what do you want? Fu Feng's tone turned frigid. Realizing Gu Yechen viewed him as a fool. Chapter 403, The Annihilation is Inevitable. Indeed, annihilation is the only course of action. Gu Yechen wore a benevolent smile. His gaze towards Fu Feng remarkably pure. Our Fu family holds considerable standing in the capital, if you wish to annihilate us. The higher authorities will not let you off easily, Fu Feng retorted coldly. Gu Yechen chuckled, brushing his nose lightly. That is not a concern for you. Just understand that those who offend me have already sealed their fate. Seeing that there was no way to resolve the situation, Fu Feng decided to take action. With a wave of his hand, a group of men surged towards Gu Yechen, intending to overwhelm him with sheer numbers. Gu Yechen's eyes narrowed, and a palpable pressure bore down, pinning the entire group to the ground. How dare you lay hands on me without assessing your own capabilities? He chided, shaking his head. With a mere thought, the group collapsed, rendered unconscious. Fu Feng stumbled back, landing on the ground, his expression one of sheer terror as he regarded Gu Yechen. To him, this man seemed less than human, having brought down his bodyguards without lifting a finger. Master, are you all right? A 10th-tier warrior behind Fu Feng helped him to his feet. Eliminate him, Fu Feng commanded, his face darkening as he glared at Gu Yechen. The 10th-tier warrior hesitated, realizing it was tantamount to a death sentence. Yet he steeled himself and stepped forward to meet Gu Yechen's gaze. Gu Yechen, intrigued, nodded appreciatively. Well done, you exhibit great courage. Before he could finish, the warrior knelt before Gu Yechen. Esteemed one, I have no ties to the Fu family. Could you spare me? He trembled, tears welling in his eyes. Fu Feng nearly choked upon hearing this. The expert he had hired at great expense was now groveling before his adversary. How can you act in such a manner? He stammered, pointing a trembling finger at the warrior. Master, I had no choice. I hope you will not hold this against me. The warrior winked at Fu Feng, who immediately grasped his intent and began to feign compliance. However, Gu Yechen saw through their charade but chose not to expose it. I can spare you. But you must perform a task for me, Gu Yechen stated, his tone indifferent. What is it? I will do anything within my power, the warrior replied respectfully. With a slight smile, Gu Yechen continued. It is quite simple. Within the Fu family, apart from myself, no one can match you. Your task is to eliminate every member of the Fu family, starting with him. He pointed at Fu Feng, his expression unchanging. To Gu Yechen, the entire Fu family was akin to ants, perhaps even beneath that designation. The warrior's face turned pale with shock, while Fu Feng's complexion drained of color. Was this not a summons for them to turn on one another? What? Are you incapable of fulfilling this task? Gu Yechen's expression darkened. The master of the Fu family has shown me kindness. Could you not spare him? The warrior raised his head, his voice quivering. Gu Yechen's lips curled into a slight smirk, his gaze towards the two men shifting with newfound intensity. I was aware of the unspoken communication between you. I comprehend your intentions. Individuals like you have already chosen your path to demise. With a swift motion, Gu Yechen extended his right hand, and the warrior's throat seemed ensnared by an unseen force, making it increasingly difficult for him to breathe. Moments later, he exploded into a cloud of blood. Fu Feng, having regained his footing, was once again rendered to the ground at this sight, his face ashen. Despite his extensive experience, he had never witnessed such a display of power, and warmth trickled beneath him. He had never felt so vulnerable. Do you truly wish to oppose the Fu family? Fu Feng managed to respond, suppressing his fear. You old fool. Do not presume I am unaware of your thoughts. You merely wish for me to let you off lightly. Do you believe you possess that privilege? The moment you consented to act against Su Qingchen, you signed your own death warrant. Now is merely the time to fulfill your promise. Gu Yechen and Apos' gaze bore into Fu Feng, instilling in him a profound sense of dread. To think that the illustrious Fu family, which has thrived for so long, would ultimately fall at the hands of a youth like you. It is utterly disheartening, Fu Feng lamented. He then turned to Gu Yechen. I have but one request. To avoid your hands becoming sullied, may I choose to end my own life? Gu Yechen shook his head. I have never feared such matters. Thus, it is more fitting that I handle it myself. Fu Feng and Apos' lips twitched. He could not even feign death, leaving him with no escape. Closing his eyes, he steeled himself. Gu Yechen, seeing he was prepared, struck him down with a single blow, reducing him to a mist of blood. In that fleeting moment, Fu Feng cursed inwardly, feeling that Gu Yechen had acted without honor, taking advantage of his moment of contemplation. Gu Yechen paid no heed to the warrior and Apos' sentiments, systematically eliminating every member of the Fu family. After ensuring the task was complete, He departed with a satisfied clap of his hands, surveying the remnants of the Fu family from midair. This will suffice. Now, I must return to shower affection upon my beloved Qingqing. With that, Gu Yechen soared away on his sword, heading toward the Su family. Father, do you approve of my relationship with Yechen? Su Qingqing inquired, gazing respectfully at Su Xiong as she offered him a cup of tea. Su Xiong, however, wore a dark expression, remaining silent. Initially, he harbored no objections to Gu Yechen, but upon hearing from his daughter that he had numerous women, he felt as though struck by lightning. What infuriated him further was that his daughter still wished to be with Gu Yechen, nearly causing him to choke. What is it about him that captivates you so? Su Xiong sighed, accepting the tea from Su Qingqing and taking a sip. Are you not aware? Su Qingqing looked at her father with confusion, believing Gu Yechen and Appo's merits were evident. This caught Su Xiong off guard. I acknowledge he is exceptional, but is it not too frivolous for one to have so many women? Can you guarantee he will treat you with the same affection in the future? Perhaps this is merely a fleeting novelty, and once he possesses you, he may turn his affections elsewhere. It is no wonder he has so many women. Su Xiong sighed deeply, earnestly lecturing Su Qingqing, yet his words fell on deaf ears. Father, I have seldom erred in my judgment throughout my life. I believe he is my destined partner. If I am ultimately forsaken by him, then it shall merely be a reflection of my poor judgment, Su Qingqing replied, her eyes sparkling with hope, a hint of a smile gracing her lips. Devoid of any sorrow. Chapter 404. A moment of transformation. I merely wish for your happiness. After all, Gu Yechen has far too many women. Su Xiong lamented. Yet his words fell on deaf ears as none of his daughter's prior accomplishments seemed to resonate with her now. Father, I understand you have my best interests at heart, but I trust him. I am well aware of Yechen's capabilities and character. Could you grant us some time? Su Qingqing's gaze towards Su Xiong bore a hint of pleading, softening his heart. In truth, he did not intend to obstruct their relationship. He was merely concerned for his daughter's well-being. If forced to choose, he would ultimately acquiesce. Recognizing that Gu Yechen was powerful enough to vanquish even the likes of Yun Tian, thus posing little threat to his daughter. Just as he was about to voice his consent, a jovial voice interrupted. I say, dear father-in-law, is it truly necessary to put Qingqing through such deliberation? I am off to resolve matters with the Fu family, and yet you wish her to ponder our relationship? As the words fell, Gu Yechen entered the living room. Su Qingqing, upon seeing him, rushed forward, and he embraced her, planting a gentle kiss on her forehead, playfully inquiring, have you missed me? Flushing, Su Qingqing nodded, yes. I have. Su Xiong shook his head, supportive of his daughter yet begrudging the loss of his cherished cabbage to another. Could you two not be mindful of your surroundings? I am still present, he remarked, unable to contain his annoyance at their affectionate display. Father Su Qingqing blushed, addressing him shyly before turning to Gu Yechen, asking, is everything well? Gu Yechen nodded with a smile. Indeed, all is progressing smoothly. Thank goodness, Su Qingqing beamed, leaning back against Gu Yechen. Su Xiong observed his daughter's apparent loss of composure, finding it difficult to watch. I have no demands, merely that you treat my daughter well. Su Xiong stated solemnly as he regarded Gu Yechen. Finding Su Xiong amusing, Gu Yechen replied with a grin, rest assured, although I have many girlfriends, I am sincere in my affections for my woman, so you need not worry on that front. Hearing her father's acceptance of their relationship filled Su Qingqing with joy. She swiftly ran over to embrace Su Xiong, her eyes glistening with tears as she exclaimed, thank you, father. Su Xiong sighed internally but gently patted her back, silly child. I am your father. There is no need for thanks between us. At that moment, Su Qingqing's excitement was beyond words. She felt no barriers remained between her and Gu Yechen, confident in her choices. Gu Yechen approached the tea set, poured a cup, and offered it to Su Xiong with a smile. Father-in-law, have some tea. Su Xiong, bemused, thought it inappropriate for Gu Yechen to present tea with just one hand, reflecting a lack of basic courtesy. Meanwhile, Su Qingqing shot him exasperated glances, observing her father's demeanor shift. Gu Yechen, casting a reassuring look toward her, continued, father-in-law, should you drink this tea, I promise to reveal a surprise that will keep you awake with excitement. Upon hearing this, Su Xiong was taken aback. His daughter was not the type to entertain such notions. Daughter, are you pregnant? He queried, heartbroken at the thought of losing his beloved cabbage. Su Qingqing was astonished. While Gu Yechen recognized the father's imaginative tendencies, he had merely intended to share a cultivation technique. Yet it was misconstrued as a pregnancy announcement. Who would not be dumbfounded by such a leap in logic? Father, what are you saying? We have yet to cross that threshold. Su Qingqing, recovering from her shock, turned crimson, her face resembling a ripe fruit. What? Su Xiong, relieved to hear their innocence, straightened up and took the tea from Gu Yechen, sipping it with a smile. Yechen, what surprise do you speak of? Su Xiong's demeanor shifted in an instant, leaving Su Qingqing astonished, followed by a soft chuckle. What is amusing? Su Xiong inquired, perplexed at his daughter's sudden mirth. Gu Yechen chuckled, continuing, father-in-law, Do you not wish to see the Su family grow stronger? Imagine facing a 10th-tier warrior with ease, or effortlessly dealing with those of lesser caliber. Su Xiong's eyes sparkled at the prospect. He was well aware of Gu Yechen's formidable prowess, which was why he had not opposed their relationship. If such power could be obtained, the prospect of a pregnancy seemed trivial. Do you have a means? Su Xiong inquired, eyes gleaming with hope. Gu Yechen tapped Su Qingchang's forehead, a surge of spiritual energy flooding her mind, leaving her momentarily stunned. What is this? She wondered, sensing a whisper of understanding. This is a cultivation technique, a method of training. As our world's spiritual energy begins to awaken, a great calamity will soon be upon us. And smaller tribulations are already manifesting, Gu Yechen explained gently. Cultivation technique? Training method? Su Xiong's astonishment was palpable as a fan of novels. He had heard of such things and felt an overwhelming desire to begin his journey. Su Qingchang, observing her father's eagerness, chuckled. Yechen, could you also share this with my father? Look at his anticipation. Suddenly called out, Su Xiong coughed, feigning indifference while taking in every detail. Gu Yechen smiled, acquiescing, and imparted the technique to Su Xiong with strict instructions. This is only for the Su family. It must not be shared with outsiders. Rest assured. I understand the value of this. Su Xiong nodded, fully aware of its significance. Gu Yechen elaborated on some key points of cultivation, and noticing the hour was late, he took Su Qingqing out for lunch. Chapter 405. The six-limbed beast Gu Yechen took Su Qingqing to a Chinese restaurant. However, just as they settled down, they were approached by two individuals in uniforms, their expressions grave. Gu Yechen was taken aback. He merely wished to enjoy a meal, yet circumstances seemed to conspire against him. Mr. Gu, we have been ordered to invite you, one of the officers stated solemnly. Upon seeing the newcomers, Su Qingqing's demeanor shifted. Gu Yechen had just dealt with the Fu family, and now there were others requesting his presence. This sudden development tugged at her heart. What is it? Gu Yechen inquired. His tone calm. Observers around them admired his composure. Most would be anxious in the presence of law enforcement, yet Gu Yechen remained unperturbed, calmly enjoying his meal. We have encountered a creature previously unseen. It resembles a cow but is of an enormous size, impervious even to sniper fire. We have no solution, and our superiors instructed us to seek your assistance, one officer whispered, evidently intent on keeping the matter concealed from the public to prevent panic. Gu Yechen was astonished. It was alarming that such a formidable creature appeared so soon. I must say, System, your predictions seem rather unreliable. A creature that cannot be felled by a sniper rifle has emerged, yet you speak of a year hence. That is merely a second-tier beast, and it cannot be compared to what will manifest in a year's time. The System's voice resonated in Gu Yechen's mind, leaving him astonished. If a second-tier monster could withstand sniper fire, what might the subsequent tiers entail? Do you enjoy wild beef? Gu Yechen playfully flicked Su Qingqing's nose, an affectionate gesture that elicited envy from onlookers. Without hesitation, Su Qingqing replied, as long as you take me to eat, I will relish it. Then let us go and see. Gu Yechen smiled at her. Su Qingqing, having heard of the impending calamity, was somewhat prepared, though she did not expect to witness it so soon. Initially worried that Gu Yechen's actions against the Fu family might lead to his capture, she now felt her concerns were unfounded. Perhaps Gu Yechen's lethal abilities were well within bounds. Yes, I too wish to see what you speak of, Su Qingqing remarked softly, her gaze filled with affection for Gu Yechen. Inside the restaurant, someone suddenly exclaimed, isn't that Su Qingqing, the heiress of the Su family and the belle of Qingbei University? We already knew that. No need for you to announce it, an onlooker replied, somewhat irritated. They had hoped to admire the goddess further, but the interruption was unwelcome. Who is that man beside her? They make quite the pair. He is handsome, and she is beautiful, another commented, speculating that he might be her boyfriend. Goodness. I heard that someone from the Fu family was pursuing her. Thankfully, he was unsuccessful, but my own chances are now dashed. Gu Yechen paid little heed to the chatter around him, gently ruffling Su Qingqing and Oppo's hair. Their admirers could only harbor envy and jealousy. Turning to the two officers, he instructed, please, lead the way. He had initially planned to dine with Su Qingqing, visit Qinyu in the afternoon, and return to spend the evening with her. But now the agenda had shifted. However, a second-tier beast posed no real threat to him. Understood, Mr. Gu, one officer responded. Astonished at the decision to involve someone so seemingly youthful and inexperienced in dealing with mutated beasts. Curiosity piqued, Gu Yechen asked, how did you ascertain my whereabouts? We track you via satellite. It took considerable time to locate you, as per Mr. Ma's orders, one officer replied seriously. Generally, Ma Xin refrained from intervening in such matters, as each department had its personnel. Oh, I hadn't anticipated that. However, why did he not contact me directly? Gu Yechen pondered, perplexed by the convoluted approach. Once inside the police vehicle, Gu Yechen and Su Qingqing occupied the back seat. What are the characteristics of this beast? He inquired. What we know is that it is larger than typical cattle. with robust limbs and colossal horns capable of withstanding 20 rounds from a sniper rifle. Remarkably, it can even catch and retaliate against sniper bullets fired by our soldiers. A fact that took everyone by surprise, one officer explained gravely. He had been present during the incident and had never witnessed such an extraordinary scene. A bullet had been fired, only to be caught by the creature and hurled back at the soldier, who was fortunate to evade in time. Or else he would have faced dire consequences. After that, we could not take further action, as no one knew what resistance this mutated animal might possess. If it were to catch a bomb, the situation would be catastrophic. Gu Yechen furrowed his brow. The capability of a second-tier beast to catch sniper bullets was indeed unexpected. Generally, conventional weaponry dealt effortlessly with carbon-based life forms. Yet this mutated creature defied all expectations. Wait, are you jesting? A wild bull catching bullets? Since when do bulls have hands? Gu Yechen questioned, incredulous at the absurdity. We would never joke with you. Here are the photographs from the scene, one officer replied. Presenting his phone, Gu Yechen accepted the device and was taken aback to see that the creature had sprouted two appendages resembling hands, albeit more akin to oversized fists. The sheer scale of those clenched fists was astonishing. How peculiar, a cow with hands, and they seem quite functional, one officer remarked, shaking his head in disbelief. As this shattered his understanding of reality, he glanced at Gu Yechen, hesitating before finally asking, Mr. Gu, what are your thoughts? The world is undergoing transformation. Such occurrences will become increasingly common. What we have encountered is merely a mutated second-tier wild bull, evolved into a beast with formidable physical strength, rendering it capable of catching bullets, Gu Yechen stated, intertwining his fingers with Su Qingqing's delicate hand, allowing her head to rest against his chest as he closed his eyes in silence. Chapter 406. I will fly directly over. Chun Yu sat on a stone bench in the courtyard, her gaze wandering distractedly outside. The sun blazed fiercely, much like the warmth of her heart as she longed for Gu Yechen. Why haven't you come yet? She murmured, absent-mindedly toying with a pill in her hand. This pill was a gift from Gu Yechen, one she could hardly bring herself to consume, as it was the first present he had ever given her. Still thinking about Yechen? Chen Zhengming observed his granddaughter, noticing the deep yearning etched on her face, which filled him with concern, fearing she might fall ill from her longing. I'm not thinking about him, I and Appos. I'm just pondering other matters. Chun Yu retorted, her cheeks flushing crimson at her grandfather and Appos' teasing, unable to conceal her feelings. Ha, little you. Your thoughts are plainly written all over your face, and yet you insist otherwise. Chun Zhengming chuckled, his eyes brimming with affection for his granddaughter. Chen Yu covered her flushed cheeks, looking at her grandfather and asking, Grandpa, is it really that obvious? He gently ruffled her hair and nodded. It's exceedingly evident. Anyone familiar with you both can see it, and even strangers would know you're thinking about your boyfriend. With that, Chun Zhengming rose and laughed heartily as he departed. I'm off to cultivate. You should rest as well. If Yechen arrives, he'll surely seek you out. If he hasn't, it means something else has held him up. Watching her grandfather tease her, Chen Yu shook her head and made her way to her room to practice her cultivation. In the outskirts of Kyoto, at the Tianmen Mountain Park, a large contingent of soldiers had gathered, including special forces, yet none had moved. Recently, they had fired 10 mortar shells at the mutated wild buffalo, but to no avail. It had sustained no damage, and one shell had even been caught and thrown back, injuring a soldier who was promptly sent to the hospital. Minister Ma, when will Yechen arrive? The commander of the Kyoto military district asked Ma Xian, his expression grave. I've heard he is on his way, but I cannot say for certain, Ma Xian replied, equally concerned. The mutated buffalo was showing signs of movement, if not stopped. The consequences could be dire. Should Gu Yechen fail to arrive in time, they would have no choice but to resort to missiles. On the highway, police cars sped towards their target. Too slow. That creature has awakened and begun to move, Gu Yechen remarked, reading the system prompt. The two policemen were taken aback. They had received no such information. So how did Gu Yechen know? Pull over. I'll go ahead, Gu Yechen said, his demeanor calm yet exuding confidence that was unmistakable. After the police stopped on the emergency lane, they looked at him. Mr. Gu, how do you plan to get there? It's quite a distance to Tianmen Mountain, and walking is impractical. I will fly directly over, Gu Yechen replied. He then turned to Su Qingqing, pulling her into an embrace and smiling. Let us go. With a thought, the thunder sword appeared before him. Together, they stepped forward, instantly vanishing from their spot, leaving only a purple streak of light that faded into the distance. What is this? Am I seeing things? One of the policemen gasped, astonished. He had never imagined witnessing such a phenomenon, flying on a sword. A sight he thought confined to television, now unfolding before his very eyes. When will I be able to do that? Su Qingqing nestled closer to Gu Yechen. Surrounded by fleeting clouds, with the vast landscape of their homeland beneath them. You're still far from that. You must at least cultivate to the 3rd level of foundation establishment to fly. Otherwise, your internal spiritual energy simply isn't sufficient. Gu Yechen affectionately ruffled her hair. Then I can fly too. Su Qingqing's eyes sparkled with delight as she clung to Gu Yechen. Anyone who embarks on the path of cultivation and reaches the foundation establishment stage can learn to fly, provided they master sword control. Gu Yechen focused ahead, closing the distance to Tianmin Mountain. Soon, they arrived at their destination, and Gu Yechen maneuvered the thunder sword downwards. Minister Ma, I hear you were looking for me? Gu Yechen touched down, a gentle smile gracing his face, his tone lighthearted. Su Qiqing stood beside him, her hands clasped demurely in front of her, resembling a bashful bride. Ma Xian, observing the mutated buffalo ahead, was startled by Gu Yechen's sudden appearance beside him. Yechen, where did you come from? You gave me quite a scare. Ma Xian patted his chest, having been utterly unprepared for Gu Yechen's entrance, which nearly took his breath away. I came down from the sky, Gu Yechen said, pointing upwards with a faint smile. Ma Xian almost dismissed his words as nonsense, but recalled that Gu Yechen was indeed capable of flight, thus swallowing his retort. He then noticed Su Qingqing standing beside Gu Yechen and, puzzled, turned to him. Arin and Apos. To you going to introduce her? Gu Yechen proudly wrapped his arm around Su Qingqing's slender waist, looking at Ma Xian with a beaming smile. This is my girlfriend, Su Qingqing. Su Qingqing blushed deeply, feeling quite nervous. Ma Xian nodded slightly, appraising her with admiration. So, you are the daughter of Su Dong from the Su group. It seems the rumors are indeed true. You are truly a remarkable beauty. Su Qingqing was taken aback by Ma Xian's recognition. She had never had the opportunity to converse with such a prominent figure before, and she was undeniably basking in Gu Yechen's brilliance. Minister Ma, I'm flattered. It's all an exaggeration, she replied modestly, gracefully inclining her body. Ma Xian waved his hand, signaling her to relax. He then handed his binoculars to Gu Yechen, gesturing towards the mutated buffalo in the distance, his expression solemn. Take a look at that creature. Does it not relate to what you mentioned earlier? Gu Yechen did not take the binoculars. Instead, he gazed intently at the distant creature, stating, such things are no longer of any concern to me. Indeed, you are no longer an ordinary person. Ma Xian nodded in understanding. Chapter 407. The scent of charred beef. Gu Yechen swiftly formed seals with his hands, and peculiar beams of light flickered at his fingertips. Subsequently, his consciousness expanded, enveloping the entire area and precisely locating the wild buffalo's position. After assessing the buffalo's condition, he gradually withdrew his senses. It appeared that the revival of spiritual energy was accelerating. Within a year, a complete awakening would occur, leading to the emergence of various strange creatures. The wild buffalo before him could already be classified as a magical beast, possessing an incredibly robust physique impervious to blades and firearms, rendering ordinary weapons utterly ineffective. Gu Yechen frowned slightly, expressing his thoughts. This is entirely different from the wolf video you provided last time. This creature is larger and indeed resilient. None of our weapons seem to phase it, unless we resort to missiles. Ma Xian and Apos' expression darkened, for if the current equipment of Huagua proved ineffective against this mutated creature, future challenges would undoubtedly be more arduous. There's no need for concern. As long as the mecha can be developed swiftly, we will be able to cope. The mecha is equipped with a laser sword function, which should be sufficient for dealing with such a formidable foe, Gu Yechen replied. When he initially designed the mecha, he incorporated some groundbreaking technologies. High-tech weapons like laser cannons and swords were still in the research phase with contemporary technology, yet the development of the mecha required time. Our primary task remains addressing the threat posed by this wild buffalo. We cannot allow it to cause further destruction. Ma Xian regarded the buffalo with a solemn expression. Gu Yechen gazed at the buffalo in the distance, a hint of doubt flashing in his eyes. Has it actively harmed anyone? Ma Xian, puzzled by the question, shook his head. Not so far. A soldier was injured only due to its counterattack. However, it has demolished several tile-roofed houses. We can extend it an opportunity. As long as it refrains from harming humans, we might offer it a chance at survival. Gu Yechen articulated his thoughts to Ma Xian. That may prove challenging. A creature of such size could easily injure someone. Regret would come too late. Ma Xian acknowledged the unfairness of the choice, yet felt there was no alternative. However, before they could continue their conversation, the buffalo began to move, seemingly intent on attacking the village, leaving them no option. Gu Yechen inhaled deeply, his spiritual energy surged, and an overwhelming aura radiated forth. Su Qingqing and Ma Xian could both feel the oppressive force accompanying this potent energy. Gu Yechen stepped forward, his body levitating in the air, hands swiftly altering the incantations. Suddenly, the sky transformed. The previously clear expanse was enveloped by dark clouds, and ominous purple lightning brewed within, producing a terrifying sound. All eyes were fixed on Gu Yechen, witnessing this spectacle for the first time. Even Ma Xian felt a profound shock within. The mutated buffalo seemed to sense the impending threat, raising its head and unleashing a thunderous roar, pawing the ground with its hooves, forming a defensive posture. With a flick of his right hand, Gu Yechen summoned a robust purple lightning bolt from the clouds, striking directly towards the buffalo. This blow carried merely 1/10 of his power. The buffalo attempted to sidestep to the right, seemingly trying to evade the strike. But the lightning was too swift and struck it in an instant. In that moment, the buffalo was engulfed in the electrifying blast, and the acrid scent of charred beef permeated the air. As the smoke dissipated, everyone anxiously gazed at the buffalo's location. To their astonishment, although the buffalo was enveloped in black smoke, it stubbornly stood its ground, displaying numerous scorch marks yet retaining a fierce glare, seemingly unscathed by any fatal injuries. It appeared that the buffalo was even more tenacious than anticipated. Gu Yechen furrowed his brow. Despite utilizing only 1/10 of his strength, the outcome was unexpected. From a distance, Su Qingqing watched this scene with growing concern. Although their relationship was not yet substantial, she had already begun to regard him as the most significant figure in her life, second only to her father. Rest assured, your little man is fine, Ma Xian quipped, noticing Su Qingqing's anxiety and attempting to lighten the mood. Ma Xian was taken aback when his comment caused Su Qingqing to blush, while she was equally surprised that he would say such a thing. Prime Minister Ma, I have complete faith that Yechen will be all right, Su Qingqing replied, managing a smile. Gu Yechen, observing the buffalo, shook his head internally. The fact that it could withstand 1/10 of his power was commendable, yet it was a pity. Subsequently, to afford it dignity and respect, Gu Yechen unleashed 50% of his strength, the power of a golden core cultivator, obliterating the buffalo with a single strike, leaving no trace behind. May you find peace on your journey, Gu Yechen sighed, then appeared beside Su Qingqing, wrapping his arms around her waist. It's done, I must take my leave now. He glanced at Ma Xian, a subtle smile gracing his lips, for this was a mere trifle for him. Ma Xian and the others fell into contemplation, having pondered various strategies to confront the buffalo, yet they never expected Gu Yechen would annihilate it so effortlessly. Yechen, how is the situation with those 100 people? When can they emerge? Ma Xian inquired, his gaze fixed on Gu Yechen. Not yet. They are still undergoing trials, and no one has succeeded in passing the first test. Gu Yechen answered with a shake of his head. They must at least reach the foundation establishment stage to emerge. However, once they reach the 9th level of qi refining, I can allow them to venture out for some practical experience. Ma Xian nodded, well aware of the arduous path ahead. For now, all hopes rested upon the mecha. You all can handle the situation here. I shall take my leave, Gu Yechen declared, wielding the thunder sword, exuding an aura akin to that of an immortal. Thank you for your assistance today, Ma Xian acknowledged with a nod, recognizing that the subsequent matters required no further involvement from Gu Yechen, who thus departed without hesitation. Gu Yechen vanished into thin air, leaving Ma Xian startled once more, having witnessed him disappear along with Su Qingqing. This guy. Ma Xian shook his head, pondering that one day, his heart might stop from the sheer shock caused by Gu Yechen. Gu Yechen reappeared in Su Qingqing's residence, a place she had informed him about, indicating she was aware of what was to come. Chapter 408, the heart-stirring presence of Gu Yechen in the room. A sweet and boundless aura of love enveloped the air. While outside, birds chirped joyfully, seemingly to witness this moment. Gu Yechen slightly lowered his head, his long fingers gently lifting Su Qingqing's chin. With a faint smile gracing his lips, he slowly declared, from this day forth, you are unequivocally mine. Su Qingqing tilted her head back, allowing Gu Yechen to elevate her chin, her eyes glistening with profound affection as she gazed at the boy she had long adored. In that moment, she resembled a delicate flower, exuding both shyness and unabashed love, presenting herself as a captivating figure ready to be cherished. You must treat me well, or I might get upset, she playfully teased, sticking out her tongue. Then, summoning immense courage, she gently bit Gu Yechen's collarbone. This seemingly casual gesture was imbued with undeniable allure, starkly contrasting her usual poised demeanor. Perhaps, this was another facet of her hidden self, one that could only emerge before someone she deeply loved. The combination of her words and her teasing expression ignited a long-suppressed flame within Gu Yechen's heart. His gaze became fervent and tender as he looked down at Su Qingqing. Be gentle with me, she murmured, feeling a mix of nervousness and anticipation at the sight of Gu Yechen's barely restrained desire. Although she had never experienced intimacy, she had heard that a girl in Appo's first time often came with great pain. Her voice trembled, a blend of pleading and playful affection. Gu Yechen's fingers tenderly wove through her hair, his touch gentle. With a soft smile, brimming with adoration, he replied, I will. You are my woman. How could I not treat you with tenderness? Before the words had fully escaped his lips, Gu Yechen slowly leaned down, pressing a soft kiss upon her luscious, crimson lips. This kiss was filled with love and tenderness. They embraced once more, as if seeking to intertwine their very lives. In this atmosphere of affection, their bodies and souls began to meld together. A muffled sound escaped Su Qingqing's lips, and tears began to cascade down her cheeks. In that moment, she had finally transitioned from girlhood to womanhood, becoming an indispensable part of Gu Yechen and Appo's life. Yet, the sudden pain compelled her to weep. Gu Yechen gazed upon this stunning beauty, now weeping from pain, his heart swelling with compassion. He gently kissed away her tears, his tender gestures soothing her discomfort. 3 hours slipped by quietly, flowing with love. At this moment, Gu Yechen felt invigorated, as if all weariness had dissipated in their intimacy. He looked down at Su Qingqing, radiant in his embrace, his eyes filled with love and satisfaction. "You've worked hard," he murmured softly, his voice tender, as he placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. Su Qingqing felt as if her body had collapsed, every inch of her skin echoing weariness. Deep down, she understood that Gu Yechen had restrained his strength. Yet this initial experience still left her somewhat shaken. Strangely, she found herself growing fond of the connection forged in pain and intimacy with Gu Yechen. In her gaze, alongside love, there was now a hint of dependence. Perhaps it was their crossing of boundaries that had strengthened their emotional bond. Although she cherished the closeness they shared, the recent experience left her apprehensive about repeating it too soon. "Don't you have matters to attend to? You should leave now. I need to rest," Su Qingqing said, a gentle smile gracing her face. Despite her deep desire for his company, she recognized the formidable responsibilities Gu Yechen bore and understood that personal feelings could not hinder his duties. "Are you sure you Don and Appos? Do you need me to stay?" Gu Yechen asked, his eyes filled with concern as he gently ruffled her hair, his gaze questioning. Su Qingqing shook her head slightly, though she longed for his presence. She was not one to be overly sentimental. At this crucial moment, she chose to understand and support Gu Yechen's decision. "Very well, but I might not return for some time, as I must go to Kunlun Mountain," Gu Yechen stated with a smile, a hint of regret in his eyes. "I am well aware," Su Qingqing replied, "but you must take care of yourself. I know the pressure you're under. Be cautious." She playfully tapped her finger on his chest, her gesture endearing. Gu Yechen nodded, attentively tucking her in, adjusting the air conditioning to a comfortable temperature, ensuring she could rest well. After placing a soft kiss on her forehead, he turned and left the room. As Su Qingqing watched Gu Yechen's retreating figure, her heart brimmed with sweetness. From the very first moment their paths crossed, she had been profoundly captivated by this extraordinary man. The initial spark had been deliberate. Yet at that time, Gu Yechen's relationship with Xia Yutong compelled her to bury her feelings deep within, never revealing them. Now, she had finally realized her wish, establishing such an intimate bond with the boy she adored, filling her heart with a honeyed joy. Never had she imagined that one day she would share such love and closeness with Gu Yechen. Enduring her physical discomfort, she clutched a pillow tightly, gradually sinking into a dream filled with love and memories. After Gu Yechen left the room, he stepped outside, and with a thought, the thunder sword appeared beneath his feet. He mounted the flying sword, soaring like a streak of purple light towards the Chun family's direction. As he ascended into the skies, he suddenly sensed a peculiar and potent aura emanating from the distant Eagle Sauce country. This presence seemed to carry an invisible pressure, making even him, a golden core cultivator, feel a hint of foreboding danger. What could it be to evoke such a feeling of peril? Gu Yechen murmured, his gaze piercing through layers of clouds, traversing mountains and rivers, peering across the ocean. "Very well, I shall investigate shortly." With that resolve, he adjusted his course, continuing towards the Chen family. At that moment, Chen Yu was meditating in her room. Suddenly, an inexplicable thrill surged within her, prompting her to open her eyes wide. She spotted Gu Yechen standing on her sofa, a smile illuminating his face as he gazed at her. "You've come." Chen Yu's voice involuntarily rose, brimming with surprise. Her expression and tone unmistakably conveyed her elation. Gu Yechen smiled, opening his arms slightly, causing a blush to bloom across Chen Yu's cheeks. Although she felt a twinge of shyness, she hesitated not a moment before leaping into his embrace. Resting her head against his chest, she resembled a docile kitten that had found its master, reveling in the warmth she had long missed. "I thought you wouldn't come." Chen Yu lifted her head, her gaze lingering on Gu Yechen, filled with affection and unspoken sentiments. "How could I? Today marks the final day of your treatment. I was delayed by other matters," Gu Yechen replied gently, stroking her hair with tender fingers. "I saw online that the Fu family was annihilated. It's truly strange." Chen Yu grasped Gu Yechen's hand, walking over to a nearby chair and sitting down, her voice laced with confusion. "That was my doing," Gu Yechen revealed without a hint of concealment, believing that such matters warranted no subterfuge. "What?" Chen Yu blinked in surprise, a flicker of astonishment crossing her features. However, she quickly regained her composure and retorted, "They certainly had it coming." Her gaze intensified, taking on an assertive demeanor as she continued, "They must have committed some egregious act. In the future, if something like this happens again, include me. I too want to take action." Gu Yechen observed Chun Yu and Appos' endearing yet impulsive response, bemused. He had not anticipated that the usually gentle and amiable Chun Yu would exhibit such a charming yet commanding side when it came to matters concerning him. "It's nothing particularly special. It's just that the Fu family offended another woman dear to me, and thus I had no choice but to intervene." Gu Yechen sighed softly, Reluctant to spill blood so readily, yet faced with a situation threatening his beloved, he found himself with no alternative. To dare to usurp my sister's dignity is utterly unforgivable. Chunyu clenched her delicate fists, her demeanor brimming with righteous indignation. Lie down, after I treat you. I must take my leave. Gu Yechen looked at Chunyu, his eyes reflecting a blend of helplessness and affection. He understood that he would soon depart once more. Chunyu, upon hearing this, felt a wave of confusion wash over her, her eyes betraying a hint of disappointment and reluctance. Why? Canondapos, do you stay a little longer? She had been waiting for Gu Yechen for 2 days, her heart brimming with anticipation to spend more time with him, yet now even this modest wish seemed